Chapter 13:13. It wasn't that Yi Qing Luo didn't want to give them a hand. But recalling what Dmo Xian said to her before she fell asleep last night, finally she suppressed this urge. Dmo Xian said that Xiao Jin must have his own difficulties for making such a choice. Xiao Jin wasn't a timid person. Since he had chosen to give up on Yan Xiaoyi, then she would respect his choice. After all, that was their own lives. No matter how good Yi Qing Luo's relationship with them was, she couldn't interfere with the lives they had chosen. How are the rest of the brothers? Did Ghost Doctor say when we can get down from the bed? Yan Xiaoyi saw the atmosphere in the room stiffening, and she didn't want to continue with the topic which made her heart ache, disturbing her mood, so she changed the topic. Yi Qing Luo replied, "You're the one who suffered the most serious injury among the brothers. So you should be relieved?" Yan Xiaoyi couldn't help but laughed and gave a dry cough. She was the one who suffered the most serious injury. Which meant, the rest of the brothers were all fine. Her heart, which was hanging in the air, was finally able to settle down. As for the time to get down from the bed, the other brothers need at least half a month. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. As for you, I'm afraid it will take a month. Yan Xiaoyi's smile froze as her expression changed. Then what about the 1-month training in Class of God? If they were to go to Class of God, they definitely couldn't let the other students go. In the interclass competition, Yi Qing Luo defeated Zi Qianqian. Not only Zi Qianqian was embarrassed, but the entire Class of God was embarrassed. Heavenly Academy students who were known as Waste Class, and the top student in Class of God, Zi Qianqian, who was known as the #1 beauty, had a one-on-one competition. Zi Qianqian not only relied on her profound grade advantage, she even took out a legendary grade weapon to kill devil classes Yi Qing Luo. The entire Class of God's reputation was ruined in this competition. If the other students were to stay in Class of God for a month, it was estimated that by the end of the month, they would only receive 10 students' corpses. Because of this, Yi Qing Luo decided to let Tong Ziqing, Kitty Li and Bei Ming Lianqing stay in Devil Class to temporarily take on the role of class monitor and class committee member. She would then choose 10 students whose ability and awareness were extremely strong to go to Class of God for training. Yan Xiaoyi was one of them. The trip to the Class of Gods would take place in a few days. The students were all injured. How could they go to the Class of Gods? Just apply to the dean to postpone it. Don't forget, the class that wins first has to represent the Heavenly Academy and head to the southern continent to participate in the Academy exchange meet. Yi Qing Luo comforted him in a gentle voice. Just put the time to go to the Class of Gods after the exchange meet. Exchange conference? Yan Xiaoyi was surprised. Isn't it still a few months later? Why is it also brought forward? The southern continent was the headquarters of the Academy. Every year at the end of the year, the headquarters would hold an Academy exchange conference. Every Academy would lead a class to the exchange conference. Every time the Heavenly Academy selected the class for the exchange meet, it would always be the class that won the championship in the previous years. According to the schedule, the exchange conference would be held after the previous interclass competitions. But this time, because the Heavenly Academy had brought forward the interclass competition, too many things happened. Therefore, the headquarters decided to hold the conference in advance. This was what Yi Qing Luo had heard from the Peach yesterday. Chapter 13:14. On the second day of recuperating in Shi family, evening, the students' waste tokens sent a message to the Academy, gathering all the students to arrive at the Academy on time tomorrow morning. Yi Qing Luo took a look at her brothers who were still lying on the bed, unable to make any big movements. She decided to go to the Academy and personally apply for half a month's leave from the director. She had just walked to the entrance when she saw 2 old men dressed in white robes standing at the entrance. One of them was beaming with joy while the other had a gloomy face as his brows creased tightly. These 2 people were God Thief and Ghost Doctor. Last Qing Luo, Are you going to the academy to apply for leave? Let Ghost Doctor accompany you. God Thief pushed Ghost Doctor towards Yiqing Luo. Ghost Doctor's status in the academy, even the director has to be wary of him. Ghost Doctor? Yiqing Luo looked at Ghost Doctor, whose face was filled with impatience as her heart started to pound. She had indeed intended to find a helper to meet the director together. But her initial thought was to find teacher Gui Yu together. After all, between the director and Gui Yu, there was some hidden, unspeakable story. If it was Ghost Doctor along, then there would be no need to specially trouble teacher Gui Yu. But Master Ghost Doctor hated troublesome matters. To make Master Ghost Doctor stay at the Shi family's other residence, to help these students to treat their illnesses. To Ghost Doctor, this was already a huge trouble. Now he still wanted him to accompany her to look for the director? Wouldn't he be too insatiable? Master Ghost Doctor has been helping me to take care of these injured brothers these few days, and has already delayed the medicinal pills for several days, so I'm not numb. Still not leaving? Ghost Doctor's impatient voice interrupted her words. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to react, Ghost Doctor had already taken the lead, walking towards the direction of Heavenly Academy. Seeing Yiqing Luo still in a daze, God Thief patted her back. Please, lass Luo, aren't you going to follow up? Yiqing Luo was stunned as she looked at Ghost Doctor's departing figure, as her heart felt warm. Her brows overflowed with gentleness as she revealed an elegant smile. God Thief, thank you. My brothers. I'll leave them to you. Saying that, she turned around and immediately chased up to Ghost Doctor's footstep. Looking at Yiqing Luo's departing figure, God Thief's smile slowly faded. His eyes, which were not the least bit serious, were also covered with a layer of solemnity. Little girl, you have to grow up quickly. Otherwise, when the situation becomes more and more serious, you will lose your qualifications. He muttered in a low voice, as if he was talking to himself, but also as if he was talking to someone. Until Yiqing Luo's silhouette completely disappeared from his sight. Only then did Holy Pirate look away. He turned around and walked towards the Shi family's residence. He stepped into the residence and returned to his room. Holy Pirate scanned his surroundings and confirmed that the aura had disappeared. Only then did he slowly open his palm. A paper crane shimmering with mystic light slowly rose from his palm. For the sake of the girl's safety, this matter must be reported. At this moment, a tall and slender figure was standing in the dark not far from the main entrance of the mansion. That glistening purple robe complemented that peerless face, making it even more frightening. I will lose, what qualifications? His thin, rosy lips softly mumbled God Pirate's words. His peach blossom eyes gradually narrowed, concealing all the profound meaning. Then, he flicked his sleeve. His figure seemed to have melted into the air and disappeared. Chapter 13-15. The Entrance of the Heavenly Academy. Yiqing Luo looked at the pitch-black and tightly shut academy's main door as she halted her footstep. There was no one in the Heavenly Academy, and the entire academy was quiet. There wasn't even a guard at the door. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as she stared at the pitch-black Heavenly Academy, inexplicably feeling it was like an extremely terrifying and gloomy ancient castle. She moved her feet and approached the academy. But the Ghost Doctor's hand pressed down on his shoulder. Come back, don't forget the academy's rules. Yiqing Luo had the Heavenly Academy's little booklet, so naturally she was clear about the rules. According to the rules of the academy, no student was allowed to approach the academy during the holidays. Otherwise, they would be punished and their class would be demoted. This punishment was extremely harsh. Because of this, in the past 10 years, not a single student had dared to violate this rule. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps. She caressed the profound phoenix ring with her slender fingers. She took out a red veil and covered her face, only revealing a pair of enchanting eyes that were filled with a biting cold light. However, when she looked at the Ghost Doctor, her gaze became mischievous and gentle. As long as the Academy doesn't find out, the Academy won't be able to punish me. No. The ghost doctor turned and left without hesitation, his voice cold and annoyed. Don't think that the Academy can't catch you just because you can teleport. After taking a few steps, he realized that there was no one following behind him. The ghost doctor's brows furrowed tightly, and she turned her head to look behind her. Under the moonlight, the red-clothed girl crossed her arms and looked at him with a faint smile. That pair of mischievous eyes was calm and elegant at this moment. What is Master Ghost Doctor afraid of? The girl's clear and sweet voice floated into the ghost doctor's ears. The ghost doctor's body stiffened. Yiqing Luo laughed lowly, her laughter was sweet and charming. Ghost Doctor's master's identity, I know, it's definitely not simple, and definitely not just. An alchemist only. Ghost Doctor Master and Holy Pirate are not willing to tell me because my power is not at a level where I can know. You. In the night, the Ghost Doctor's expression couldn't be seen clearly. But from the Ghost Doctor's voice, he could hear the shock in his voice. After a long time, he suddenly chuckled. The lines on his usually stern face also softened. He slowly walked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Master Ghost Doctor, I want to go in. Yiqing Luo's voice was neither servile nor overbearing, revealing her determination. If I don't take the initiative to face it, I will never be able to truly grow. I will take good care of myself, please don't worry. It wasn't Yiqing Luo's first time sneaking into the academy during the holidays. The last time he snuck in, he discovered that the dean had taken advantage of the holidays to spread the underground forces around the academy. It could be said, the Heavenly Academy was actually the hidden base of the dark forces in the Nirvana realm. This time, if he were to sneak into the academy during the holidays, perhaps he would be able to make some important discoveries. Her teleportation secret art had already been trained to the 3rd level in the Azure Dew bracelet with Old Man Song. If something really happened and he used the teleportation secret technique to escape, it was also a piece of cake. The Ghost Doctor met her unwavering gaze and muttered to himself for a moment. His expression had already reverted to his usual impatience. All right, I'll accompany you in. A bright smile blossomed on the young girl's face. She spread open her arms and wrapped them around the Ghost Doctor, hugging him and flattering him with incomparable joy. Long live Master Ghost Doctor, I love Master Ghost Doctor the most. This lass. Her face changed really quickly. The Ghost Doctor sighed helplessly. Chapter 13-16. The cold moonlight shone on the ground. Yiqing Luo's agile figure shuttled through the academy. Her footsteps were swift like the wind, totally unable to catch a trace of her. The academy was quiet. After passing by several class courtyards, there was no sound at all. There wasn't any light in the academy, emitting a terrifying cold atmosphere. In the darkness, Yiqing Luo and Ghost Doctor exchanged glances and moved towards the direction of the library pavilion at the same time. Just as she reached the entrance of the library pavilion, Yiqing Luo acutely heard someone's voice coming from the library pavilion. Yiqing Luo's eyes shone brightly as she and Ghost Doctor concealed their presence and quietly approached. On the 2nd story of the library pavilion, a luminous pearl shone brightly on the entire 2nd story. Director knelt on the ground, shivering. And in front of him stood 2 figures. Sir Holy Law. I really didn't know that little slut's ability was so strong. Director kept kowtowing as he broke out in cold sweat. She's just an earth-profound 4th-grade cultivator, how strong can she be? The lady sneered in disdain, her tone was extremely dissatisfied. From what I see, you obviously want that little slut to win the championship. Director trembled even more, guardian who? I'm loyal to his lordship, absolutely don't dare to have any disloyalty, and will not have any disloyalty. Then tell me, how are you going to explain to his lordship that little slut won Shangguan Lu Li's blood oath? The lady walked closer to Director. Under the luminous pearl, that exquisite and beautiful face, was covered with a thick viciousness. This face. Wasn't it Yi Ching Qian? I don't know. Director didn't dare to look at Yi Ching Qian. I have already increased the difficulty, and cooperated with Guardian and Lord Holy Law's request to make Yi Ching Luo lose in the competition, but, he wanted to cry but no tears came out. This pot really shouldn't be carried by him. Right from the start, he had set so many traps to prevent Yi Ching Luo from participating in the competition. And in the competition, every round of the competition, he had cooperated with this guardian whose request, finally losing the competition. That was also because Shangguan Luli was useless. That was also the fault of that Lord Holy Law who impersonated Lu Shuiyu. In short, if I can't get the little slut's profound heart jade, then this protector will use your profound heart jade and soul to offer it to his lordship first. Yi Ching Qian's cold eyes swept over as she flicked her sleeves. Wolf Xingfa hugged her slender waist tightly from the side. All right, don't get angry and ruin your pretty little face. Yi Ching Qian obediently leaned into Wolf Saint Art's arms, her gaze suddenly turned foxy. I'm worried for Wolf Saint Art. If his lordship were to blame you, I'll feel heartache. The sweet voice caused the Wolf Saint technique's expression to change slightly. He increased the strength in his hand and directly pressed Yi Ching Qian onto the table. The number of souls that his lordship needs today is increasing and the pure young cultivator's souls are becoming lesser and lesser. The supply is insufficient and he has already fallen into a coma. Yi Ching Qian's tender and enchanting voice rang in the quiet library pavilion's second story. Before his lordship wakes up, this Saint Art will personally take away the profound heart jade from Yi Ching Luo. Wolf Saint Art said disapprovingly. Immediately he lifted up Yi Ching Qian's skirt. Seeing that you're so worried about this Saint Art will satisfy you now. The room was charming and gentle. Director knelt on the ground, listening to such a provocative voice. He didn't dare to raise his head. And at this moment. Chapter 13:17. Cough. These two people. Ghost Doctor was after all an old man. Standing with a young lady at the entrance, he heard the sounds of this scene. It was simply too awkward. Pooey. Yi Ching Luo spat out a soft sound. Only her lips breathed out without any sound at all. But borrowing the light from the second story's luminous pearl, Ghost Doctor could clearly see Yi Ching Luo's lip. She said word by word, "Who are they?" These two people are obviously livestock, ready to estrus any time, mating anywhere. The Ghost Doctor's expression, which had been cold all along, changed slightly. All right, he admitted that there were two livestock inside. Hearing Yi Ching Qian's coquettish voice, Yi Ching Luo's eyes revealed a chilly intent. Her lips curled, a cold and treacherous smile blossomed on her lips. Yi Ching Qian. She had not expected to see Yi Ching Qian at this moment. She had intended to wait for her brother's injuries to recover before she took the initiative to look for Yi Ching Qian. Now that she saw, how could she let go of such a good opportunity? West Lawn Public Square's mountainside, revenge for attacking her brothers. Taking the opportunity when she wasn't around, setting fire to the World Group's old residence, attempting to take revenge for killing her brothers. New hatred and old hatred. She would make Yi Ching Qian pay back 100 times. The iciness in her eyes was like a bone-cutting knife. Ghost Doctor, who was beside her, also sensed this anger. He frowned as he stretched out his hand to hold Yi Ching Luo's arm, indicating for her to restrain her presence. Generally speaking, a cultivator's perceptive ability was much stronger than ordinary people. If someone was staring at them, cultivators would discover it at the first instance. However, the two people in the room were still in the midst of making love, enjoying themselves. They totally didn't notice the commotion outside the door. As for the director, who was kneeling on the ground with a complicated feeling, he had already wandered off somewhere and didn't notice anything. After Ghost Doctor's reminder, Yi Ching Luo then realized that her arrogance was too insolent. She immediately restrained the anger in her eyes as she pursed her lips. If it was in the past, she would never show her emotions on her face. Even if she met her eyes, if she didn't want to, no one would be able to find out her thoughts from her eyes. But now it was different, because of her concern for her brothers. When he saw Yi Qingqian, the fury and hatred in his heart surged up. Her fair little hand was pressed against her chest. The anger that was burning in this place was still boiling. She closed her eyes and suppressed this irrepressible urge. Calm down, I need to calm down, even if he wanted revenge. He could not be so impulsive. At this moment, Wolf Saint Technique and Yi Qingqian had already ended their battle. The two of them panted heavily, mixed in with Yi Qingqian's tender panting, praising the Wolf Saint method to be awesome. You're still here. Wolf Xingfa seemed to have just realized that the dean was still kneeling at the side. His face darkened. Do you want me to dig your eyes out? The dean trembled in fear. I didn't see anything. I've been waiting for Lord Saint Technique to give me the next task. The Wolf Sacred Technique still wanted to say something, but his chest was caressed by a soft and boneless little hand. Lord Sacred Technique, why bother with him? Who is your woman? I don't think he has the guts to look. This touch made the Wolf Saint Technique feel something again. Chapter 13:18. The Dean replied in a trembling voice. South Continent's Blaze Lair, have you heard of it? Wolf Saint Magic asked again. Director, yes, I have. Wolf Saint Magic replied. Recently, there was some movement in the Blaze Lair. South Continent's imperial tutor prophesied that there would be a divine object descending into the world. South Continent's major forces swarmed over, but no one came back alive. Director suddenly understood something. What Lord Saint Magic means is, Lord is about to break the seal and the demand for souls is increasing. Wolf Saint Magic said faintly. Director knelt on the ground and kowtowed. I understand. This lowly one will definitely handle this matter beautifully and won't give Lord Saint Law any more trouble. Wolf Saint Magic's nature was flourishing from Yi Qingqian's teasing. After giving his instructions, he casually waved his hand and suppressed Yi Qingqian once again. Director immediately got up and retreated to the door as if he had received the order. Director closed the second-floor door and patted his chest as he took a deep breath. He wiped the cold sweat off his head and was about to leave. Suddenly his footsteps paused and his nose sniffed. It seemed there was a familiar smell. Before he could think deeper, he heard Yi Qingqian's coquettish voice coming from the second floor of the library pavilion. He shrank his neck and quickened his footstep. That smell should be Guardian Who's smell. It was better for him to leave earlier. Otherwise, if Wolf Saint Magic knew that he was standing at the door, he would probably think that he had some special feelings for Guardian Who. After Director's figure disappeared from the library pavilion, the two figures who were hiding in the dark returned to the door. Yi Qing Luo looked at the direction where Director left, and a trace of coldness appeared in her eyes. At this critical juncture, Wolf Saint Magic could still bring Yi Qingqian to roam freely here. Didn't Dmo Xian ask the Imperial Palace's disciples to destroy Wolf Saint Magic's forces using the dark forces as an excuse? Could it be? What new ideas did the dark forces come up with to contend against the Imperial Palace? No wonder. That day, Tang Beiyuan wanted to ask Dmo Xian to return to the Imperial Palace. No wonder. She didn't see Dmo Xian around when she woke up this morning. Did he rush back to settle this matter? Southern Continent's exchange meet. Blaze Lair. They wanted to use the exchange to lure the students of the various academies to the Flame Nest. After which, the souls of all the students would be sacrificed to the King of Darkness. To the outside world, they could declare those students had died in the Fire Nest. That was a good idea. Girl, it's time to go back. The ghost doctor's expression was extremely gloomy. He had probably overheard the conversation between the Wolf Saint Magic and the Dean. Both of them had guessed the purpose of the Holy Wolf technique. The ghost doctor probably wanted to discuss this matter with God Pirate. Yiqing Luo nodded her head. Hearing this news, Yiqing Luo naturally didn't think of applying for leave from the director. However, she would not leave so easily. At the very least, he had to let Yiqing Jian taste the bitterness. Death? It wasn't scary. What was terrifying was that Yiqing Qian would rather die than live. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers flicked the profound phoenix ring. He took out a bamboo tube that was about the length and size of a finger. The other hand was holding a medicine bottle. He unscrewed the cap, put the bamboo tube into the bottle and twisted it twice. Picking up the bamboo tube, she blew the medicinal powder towards the second story of the library pavilion. After doing this, Yiqing Luo then took out a handkerchief and wrapped the bamboo tube. Let's go. The ghost doctor looked at Yiqing Luo with a strange expression. As an elder-grade alchemist, he just took a whiff and guessed what medicine it was. He couldn't understand. A young lady. Chapter 13-19. This medicine was made up of hundreds of extremely potent medicinal herbs which could make one boil and be in heat were refined. The effect of this medicine was extremely strong. Yiqing Luo named this medicine ecstasy powder. Just a little bit of it. Men would always maintain this hot-blooded state at all times. And the more boiling, the more energetic they were. So energetic that even if there were 5 to 6 women at the same time, they wouldn't feel tired at all. Of course, this kind of boiling spirit, under the condition of being in heat at all times, the woman who was slept with would be miserable. This medicine had no effect on the man's early stage. But under the premise of the man being affected by the ecstasy powder, the woman who had sex with the man would be miserable. The side effects of this medicine would slowly be transferred to the woman's body through the sex, spreading throughout her internal organs. In less than a month's time, this woman's internal organs would dry up and she would die. Even if the doctor came to check her pulse or to dissect the corpse, they could only find out. The woman would die of old organs on the spot, and the man who was affected by the ecstasy powder would unscrupulously overdraft his own energy in this 1 month. Finally, he would die on the woman. Furthermore, Yiqing Luo was very curious. If Wolf Saint Technique was bewitched by this medicine, and went crazy to forcefully take over Yiqing Qian, would Yiqing Qian split open again, like the last time Ling Feng Hua was in the Imperial Garden, bleeding profusely? Of course, if Wolf Saint Technique really loved Yiqing Qian, no matter what, he would bear with the ecstasy powder's effect for Yiqing Qian, to avoid being too intimate with her? With a status like Wolf Saint Technique, he could have as many women as he wanted, just a wave of his hand was enough. Of course, this depended on whether Wolf Saint Technique's willpower was strong enough. This depended on whether Yiqing Qian was willing to let Wolf Saint Technique find other women to settle. Most importantly, they were so crazy now. Could Yiqing Qian still walk out of the second story of the library pavilion? Yiqing Luo was looking forward to the next show. After leaving the academy, Ghost Doctor's gaze towards Yiqing Luo was extremely strange. It made Yiqing Luo's hair stand on end. She raised her hands in surrender. Master Ghost Doctor, ask whatever you want to ask. Don't look at me like that. That medicine. How did you get it? Moreover, there were a few medicinal herbs that even he couldn't ask about. The attention of the Ghost Doctor, who was obsessed with refining medicine, was completely attracted by this medicinal herb. Give me that medicine bottle. Yiqing Luo's expression turned strange as she looked suspiciously at Ghost Doctor. Master Ghost Doctor, you're already so old, using medicine to raise your own physical strength. Isn't it a little too much? Speaking of this, Yiqing Luo paused for a moment. Seeing that the Ghost Doctor's expression was becoming darker and darker, she hugged her head and softly admitted defeat. Master Ghost Doctor, if you really want this type of medicine, I'll specially refine a pill for you some other day. At least it won't harm your body. Take out the medicine. The Ghost Doctor couldn't take it anymore. His white brows trembled. Yi Qing Luo pouted as she retrieved the bottle of ecstasy powder from the profound phoenix ring. The ghost doctor snatched it away and stuffed it into his sleeve. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched. Do you need to be so, robber? In the past, she was the one who snatched other people's things without saying a word. Now that it was her turn to be snatched, she didn't dare to voice out her anger. This feeling was really aggrieved. Seeing Ghost Doctor holding the medicine bottle, not even turning his head back as he walked towards the direction of the villa. Chapter 1320. Ghost Doctor directly ignored Yi Qing Luo's howls, and in a blink of an eye, he had already blended into the night. Yi Qing Luo touched the red veil on her face. She'd better return to Shi family's residence to rest first and go to the academy tomorrow morning to apply for leave from the director. Just as she was about to raise her hand and pull down the veil, the wind brought along a strange smell. Her ears twitched and indeed heard the sound of something breaking through the air. Her expression sunk slightly and her figure swiftly stretched out. An enchanting red dress in the night drew an alluring arc. That red remnant shadow seemed to have added a beautiful shadow to the night. Bam! A loud sound was heard. The place where Yi Qing Luo was standing earlier instantly collapsed into a deep pit. The surrounding dust flew up, and in that deep pit, a sharp arrow could be faintly seen. Arrow? Someone wanted to kill her? Yi Qing Luo stared at that arrow which was stuck into the ground. Its tail was still shaking as she squinted her eyes. Before she could ponder deeply, someone had already submitted the answer. Only to hear an extremely familiar voice coming from the darkness. That tone was filled with thick hatred and anger. I just heard that little slut Yi Qing Luo's voice over there. Go and search. Go and search. When he mentioned Yi Qing Luo's name, Yi Qing Luo could hear the sound of teeth grinding in these 3 words. There was a feeling of wanting to tear her into pieces and skin her alive. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she stopped her footwork. She directly crossed her arms and stood on the original spot. With a smile which didn't look like a smile, she looked towards the direction where the voice was getting nearer. From the alley, 10 overkillers with bows and arrows walked out. And behind the 10 overkillers stood a middle-aged man who was bent over in battle. He pushed a wheelchair, which was similar to a modern wheelchair. On that chair sat a lady with a pale face, like a ferocious ghost. This person was none other than Shangguan Liuli. Ever since the day before yesterday, her profound jade heart was dug out by Yi Qing Luo. She had completely lost her status in the Shangguan family. A waste without a profound jade heart. The Shangguan family didn't need her at all. Shangguan Liuli had completely become an abandoned chess piece. Even her own brother, Shangguan Fangyi, had no intention of saving her. He only gave her enough money to live the rest of her life without worrying about food and clothing. He also agreed to send her to the Shangguan outer sect side courtyard tomorrow so that she could live the rest of her life in peace. Shangguan outer sect side courtyard. What kind of place is that? That was the place where the Shangguan family's sinful slaves, good-for-nothings, or young masters and ladies who had committed crimes had been distributed over the years. She was the most favored 5th daughter of the Shangguan family. Why would he go to the outer sect side courtyard? This was basically asking her to die. She would never go. Shangguan Liuli had placed all the blame on Yi Qing Luo for her fate falling to such a state. It was Yi Qing Luo who caused her to lose everything. It was Yi Qing Luo who turned her from the glorious 5th miss into a wastrel. Hence, he held on to the belief that even if he died, he would drag Yi Qing Luo into hell together with him. Shangguan Liuli gave the money that Shangguan Fangyi had given her to the Hall of Assassins. 10,000 gold coins in exchange for 17 killers, 2 gold medal assassins and 15 silver medal assassins. These were enough to make Yi Qing Luo die without a burial ground. When she saw Shangguan Liuli, Yi Qing Luo's half-squinted eyes revealed a chilly smile. Good fellow. She came just in time. She was feeling extremely depressed right now. When she saw Yi Qing Qian, she had no choice but to rush up without any hesitation to seek revenge for her injured brothers. This anger was still stuck in her chest with nowhere to vent it out. Shangguan Liuli appeared. TSK. Chapter 13:21. Yi Qing Luo. Shangguan Liuli gritted her teeth as she shouted Yi Qing Luo's name. You slut! It's all because of you. All because of you. You caused me to become like this. I'm going to kill you. Her eyes were filled with madness as she called out to the killers beside her. Kill her! Kill her for me! These killers were all well trained. But they couldn't help but felt some displeasure towards this employer. Most of their daily work was done on their own. They had the habit of checking on their targets. Then they would take action under the circumstances where no one knew. But this crazy Shangguan family's fifth miss, no matter what they investigated or where they went, she would follow behind them. To put it nicely, she wanted to see Yi Qing Luo die in front of her. Hence, a group of killers brought along a waste and wandered around. Their efficiency was also reduced by half. Especially this waste, there was a hole in her brain. The hole was filled with sh*t. Earlier, these killers were checking on the academy's entrance, checking on when Yi Qing Luo would return to the academy. Coincidentally, they heard Yi Qing Luo's voice. This waste with a hole in her brain was clamoring for them to take action. Taking action secretly and not hitting the target. So forget it. But this waste with a hole in her brain was clamoring towards Yi Qing Luo. They were killers. Their information network was the best. The news of Yi Qing Luo having a divine relic, divine dragon and sacred beast, they knew about it too. Going head-to-head might end up in a miserable state. However, the killer's inner roars could not be transmitted to this waste with a hole in her brain. When Shangguan Liuli saw Yi Qing Luo, she only saw Yi Qing Luo in her eyes. Her entire brain could only be stuffed with Yi Qing Luo. She didn't want to bother about anything else and couldn't be bothered. At most, she would self-explode and perish together with Yi Qing Luo. Such a stubborn employer who sent herself to death without any hesitation. These killers had no way to defy her. After accepting the mission, for the sake of the killer hall's reputation and credibility, even if the employer had a hole in her brain, they had to brace themselves and listen to the employer's instructions. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as her fingertips flicked and a flame fan appeared in her hands. It was her newly repaired glower flame fan. She could use these people to test how powerful the gourd flame fan, which had merged with her soul, was. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a chilly arc as her cold gaze fell onto Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli, I didn't expect you to be so trustworthy. You took the initiative to look for me so quickly to let me break your meridians? Shangguan Liuli's face instantly darkened, and her gaze became ruthless. Don't be too proud. I want to see if your life will be taken away first, or if my meridians will be severed. What she and Yi Qing Luo had agreed on was a blood oath. A blood oath sworn by blood. The loser would never be able to escape the bet. Even if she went to the outer sect, the blood oath that she and Yi Qing Luo had set would still backfire and complete the bet that they had set. Moreover, it would make her suffer endless pain. Because of this, that was why Shangguan Liuli was so desperate. Even if she had to die, she would drag Yi Qing Luo along with her. Under Shangguan Liuli's command, the killers surrounded and attacked Yi Qing Luo's direction. The surging dark force covered the sky and covered the earth. The killer hall's killers were indeed specially trained. 2 gold medal killers, their profound grades were at least Mystic Profound 8th grade and Earth Profound 2nd grade. The other silver medal killers' abilities weren't weak at all. The more sinister thing was, the few of them directly trapped Yi Qing Luo, not giving her any chance to release her profound energy. Chapter 13:22. If it was an ordinary person, under the rain of arrows, they would absolutely not have the ability to evade. But Yi Qing Luo was different. Although she was trapped by the few killers and had no way to display her fists and legs, but she had her own set of footwork. As she moved swiftly, Not only did she avoid the rain of arrows, she also escaped the killer's encirclement. Her figure was like a ghost, and at the instance when she retreated, the glower flame fan in her hands swept up a hurricane as it struck towards the killers. That hurricane was totally different from the usual hurricane. When the hurricane struck one of the killer cried out miserably as his body fell limply onto the ground. The other killers were stunned by this scene. Their gazes were fixed on that killer. A sense of fear was born in their hearts towards the hurricane that Yiqing Luo casually set off. SSSSS. A sound as though something was being torn apart was heard. Everyone's gazes turned towards the direction of the sound. Then they saw. That originally limp corpse was like a fountain as thin lines of blood gushed out from its body. Even those killers who were used to killing scenes and whose hands were stained with blood were stunned by this strange scene. Ah! Just as the assassins looked at the corpse that was covered in blood and was still gushing out like a fountain, a shrill scream rang out. Not knowing when, Yiqing Luo had broken through those killers' array and circled to Shangguan Liuli's back. The feather fan flipped around her fingertip. A dagger slid out from the handle of the fan as it stuck to housekeeper Shangguan's neck. Soundlessly, it took away housekeeper Shangguan's life. And at the next instant, Yiqing Luo's dagger, which was stained with blood, was already on Shangguan Liuli's neck. She didn't use much strength. Just stuck to her neck. They could see the open wound on her neck and the blood oozing out. As it blended with the blood on the dagger, Shangguan Liuli's entire body turned stiff as she didn't dare to move at all. Unbelievable! Yiqing Luo was actually able to get close to her silently and kill housekeeper Shangguan under the situation where the gold medal killers were obstructing her? Gold medal killers. 2 gold medal killers. It was because of these 2 gold medal killers that Shangguan Liuli could be so unbridled. But these 2 experienced killers were the top 50 gold medal killers in the killer hall. He couldn't even touch the hem of Yiqing Luo's clothes. Yiqing Luo, although she kept saying that she was going to die sooner or later after living in such a state, Gu Shijiu had no choice but to accept her fate. She was no longer afraid of death. But at the brink of death, Shangguan Liuli's heart still surged with a sense of fear. The coldness on his neck brought with it the feeling of sticky blood. The thick smell of blood filled her nose. Shangguan Liuli felt like vomiting. "Don't be afraid, I'm just here to complete our bet, I won't kill you." Yiqing Luo's smiling voice was close to his ear. That laughter was sweet and pleasant. However, in Shangguan Liuli's ears, it was a voice from hell. Bet? Isn't that, he wanted to break her tendons and veins? Shangguan Liuli's face suddenly turned pale. Before he could open his mouth to beg for mercy, he felt a sharp pain in his arm. At some point, the dagger that was pressed against her neck had moved to her arm. It was just a gentle stroke. Fresh blood gushed out. Shangguan Liuli clearly felt that something in her arm seemed to have broken. A burst of tearing pain made her cry out miserably. Those killers speedily closed in on Yiqing Luo as they surrounded her. She heard that chilly voice as it rang indifferently, "My target is only Shangguan Liuli alone. I didn't make a move because I don't want to go against the killer hall. If you insist on doing this mission, then don't blame the World Group for not showing any mercy." Chapter 13:23. The Hall of Assassins had a resounding reputation in the Nirvana realm. There were branches of the Hall of Assassins in all 4 continents. If it was possible, Yiqing Luo didn't want to have any conflict with the Killer Hall. To be precise, none of the mercenary groups wanted to have a conflict with the Hall of Assassins. Of course, even if Yiqing Luo were to kill these killers now, the Hall of Assassins would not go against the World Mercenary Group indiscriminately. After all, the Hall of Assassins had accepted the assassination. Yiqing Luo's retaliation was also a legitimate self-defense. But now, Yiqing Luo had given the assassin Hall enough face by saying these words. The killers naturally didn't doubt Yiqing Luo's ability. Earlier Yiqing Luo only moved her fan slightly and easily took away a killer's life. Without anyone noticing, he had quietly gotten close to Shangguan Liuli and killed the Shangguan housekeeper. It was enough to prove that as long as Yiqing Luo made a move, killing all of them wasn't a big problem at all. The few killers looked at each other in dismay, as though trying to guess the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words. The two gold medal assassins exchanged the most glances. "I am your employer. I spent a lot of money to hire you. If you all dare to defy the Assassin Hall's mission orders, I'll announce to the entire world that your Assassin Hall doesn't abide by credibility." Shangguan Liuli was not a fool. At this moment, how could she possibly allow Yiqing Luo to join forces with the Killer Hall to counterattack her? The expressions under the masks of the assassins changed in different ways. Each of them had their own thoughts. These people from the Hall of Assassins were usually very straightforward and decisive, killing as they pleased. They would not waste time going around in circles with their employers and mission target. However, the situation today was different. How would a dead person announce it to the world? Yiqing Luo laughed softly. She slowly lowered her head and moved closer to Shangguan Liuli's ear. Her voice was so strange that it sent chills down one's spine. "The well-trained killers of the Hall of Assassins are not fools. As long as I kill you, not only will the Hall of Assassins obtain all of your coins for free, but they will also be able to make another friend. Why not?" Although these words were said to ridicule Shangguan Liuli, in fact, he was speaking to the dozen or so assassins. Making friends with the World Mercenary Group was secondary. Most importantly, to be friends with Yiqing Luo. To be friends with Yiqing Luo, who possessed a god relic, divine dragon and sacred beast. Perhaps he could follow Yiqing Luo's line and climb up to the Supreme Overlord? There were so many benefits. Why would he risk his life for this mission? Immediately, a gold medal assassin cupped his fists and said, "Sorry for the offense." With a flash, he disappeared into the night. The other killers naturally did not stubbornly adhere to the so-called professional ethic. Each of them waved their sleeves, not taking away a single cloud. Shangguan Liuli's body turned cold and stiff. Her eyes widened in disbelief as she looked in the direction the killers had left. The assassins of the Hall of Assassins really left? They actually abandoned their employer and fled? Meeting with Yiqing Luo's smiling eyes, Shangguan Liuli's entire body turned stiff. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Could it be the reason why he came to look for Yiqing Luo today was to personally deliver himself into her hands? No, that's not it. She wanted to perish together with Yiqing Luo. Looking at Yiqing Luo's complacent smile, Shangguan Liuli's eyes instantly shot out an intense murderous intent. Her eyes turned red as she suddenly raised her remaining hand and pressed hard against her own heart. "Yiqing Luo, let's go to hell together." Chapter 13:24. Yiqing Luo was slightly astonished as her brows rose slightly, revealing a teasing smile. She had not expected Shangguan Liuli to use her own life to gamble. Trying to self-explode and drag her to die together? How could she let Shangguan Liuli die so easily? Shangguan Liuli felt her heart was getting hotter and hotter as it expanded, as though it was going to squeeze her chest open. There was no longer any fear on her face. On the contrary, it was that kind of bone-chilling excitement, the excitement of facing death. As long as she thought that Yiqing Luo would die together with her, she didn't care about anything else. Just as her heart was about to explode, Shangguan Liuli's arm suddenly felt a sharp pain. Her swollen heart seemed to have been poked through a hole as it deflated instantly. What was going on? Shangguan Liuli's expression was aghast as she looked down at her own heart. How could this self-detonation stop? She clearly felt her heart expanding. What a pity! A chilly laughter rang beside her ears. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed slightly as she glanced at her with a faint smile. "Poor little fellow, your self-explosion trick has been exposed. What other ways do you have to kill me?" Yiqing Luo smiled brightly. Her smile was like a blooming flower, exceedingly beautiful. However, The dagger that slid out from her fan handle was doing something completely different from her expression. The sharp dagger shone with a silver luster. One stab at a time, carefully and slowly cutting Shangguan Liuli's other arm. Tendons severed. Shangguan Liuli cried out miserably as her arms hung limply by the side of the chair. Next. It's your two legs' turn. Yiqing Luo's voice was gentle as her smile was like an innocent young lady. The dagger in her hand followed along Shangguan Liuli's arm as the tip of the dagger pressed against her body, slowly sliding downwards. The icy cold touch made Shangguan Liuli not dare to move. Earlier when she self-exploded without any fear. At this moment, her tensed-up emotions completely relaxed. She was afraid. She was afraid. She didn't want to die. She didn't want to die in front of Yiqing Luo. Ah! The shrill screams made it impossible for Shangguan Liuli to think about anything else. She felt a sharp pain in her legs, as if something sharp had pierced through them. The smell of blood in the air was getting thicker and thicker. I cut the wrong place. Yiqing Luo cried out in surprise. I'm really sorry, I don't quite understand the tendons and meridians on the feet. Let's start again. Wrong again. Why is it so difficult to find the veins in your leg? TSK. Wrong again. This lasted for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. Both of Shangguan Liuli's legs were already covered with bloody holes. Yiqing Luo withdrew her feather fan and wiped her sweat. Finally cut off the tendons on your leg, it's really not easy. Shangguan Liuli screamed in pain, her voice hoarse. The pain in her body and the feeling of losing blood caused her to be in extreme pain. Shangguan Liuli screamed at the top of her lungs, "You killed me! Kill me if you can! Just kill me!" She would rather die than suffer such torture. So painful that she didn't even have the energy to bite her tongue to commit suicide. Our bet has come to a successful end. Yiqing Luo yawned and was about to say something. Chapter 13:25. These words made Shangguan Liuli's chest constricted. A mouthful of blood gushed out from her throat. Would Yiqing Luo let her off? Would Yiqing Luo be so kind to send her back to the Shangguan family? How could that be possible? She wouldn't believe it. Shangguan Liuli suppressed the surging fishy taste in her throat as her eyes were like a ferocious ghost as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, I will not let you off even if I become a ghost. I will not let you off. That voice was filled with hatred and resentment. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as her lips curled into an elegant smile as she squinted at her. Then you should at least have the chance to become a ghost. Shangguan Liuli's expression congealed as her pupils were filled with fear. What do you want to do? No chance to become a ghost? Could it be? Yiqing Luo wouldn't even let her soul off? It's not what I want to do, but you yourself gave up your own soul. Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she explained patiently. Shangguan Liuli shook her head in disbelief. But Yiqing Luo's melodious voice entered her ears like water flowing into her eardrums. You should know the price of cooperating with the dark forces. You used your own soul to exchange for the dark forces' energy. I thought that after you lost the interclass competition, the dark forces would directly take away your soul. I'm rather surprised that you're still alive until now. As she said that, Yiqing Luo bent down as she held the glower flame fan and lifted Shangguan Liuli's lower jaw. Tell me, why didn't the dark forces make a move on you? Shangguan Liuli's face turned pale in an instant. Her body also began to tremble. She knew. Of course she knew. The condition of cooperating with the dark forces was to use her own soul to exchange. But, other than that, the dark forces needed something more important than the soul. The dark forces chose her because of that thing. To be able to live till now, it was probably because of that thing. Shangguan Liuli raised her eyes as she stared at Yiqing Luo with a pair of bloodshot eyes which were filled with hatred. Suddenly, she grinned as she gave out a maniacal laugh. Beg me. Beg me, if I'm happy, I might tell you. He, Yiqing Luo sneered. I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Even if you beg me, I might not be happy and let you off. Her words had just ended when Yiqing Luo casually waved her hand. A hurricane rushed towards Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli's body was instantly swept up by the hurricane. Drops of blood flowed down his body and dripped onto the ground. A painful and shrill scream came from Shangguan Liuli. The hurricane that was stirred up was like a sharp blade. When it swept across Shangguan Liuli's body, it felt as if thousands of sharp blades were cutting into her body. His skin had already been slashed with countless scarlet wounds. Shi Ju. Yiqing Luo called out softly. A huge leopard beast appeared out of thin air. Under the night sky, his shiny black fur seemed to blend in with the night sky. His eyes were as deep as night pearls, like bright lanterns, especially eye-catching. Roar, Shi Ju growled in a low voice. Shangguan Liuli was overwhelmed with shock. Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, what are you trying to do? Yiqing Luo wanted to let the war pet eat her up? This thought made Shangguan Liuli tremble in fear. She would rather Yiqing Luo give her a stab, to cut off all her pain. Chapter 1326. Hold her in your mouth. Yiqing Luo calmly gave the order. Shi Ju's figure was like the wind, and in the blink of an eye, it had caught Shangguan Liuli, who was swept up in the air by the hurricane, and held her in its mouth. Its sharp teeth shone with a piercingly cold light under the moonlight. Shangguan Liuli screamed. The rich smell of blood stimulated Shi Ju to swallow its saliva continuously. He licked Shangguan Liuli with his tongue. Shangguan Liuli's screams grew more and more shrill. Yiqing Luo, you can't do this. It can't eat me. If it eats me, it will violate the rules of battle pets. Perhaps she was frightened by Shi Ju's tongue. Shangguan Liuli didn't know where she got the strength from, but she kept struggling. The wounds on his body also split open due to the struggle. The blood that oozed out instantly filled Shi Ju's mouth. Shi Ju held Shangguan Liuli in its mouth as it let out a low growl, and its breathing became heavier. As a carnivorous battle pet, he could not eat such a delicacy. It was too torturous for a beast. Shi Ju. Yiqing Luo cried out sharply, awakening Shi Ju's consciousness. She beckoned to it. Shi Ju resisted the impulse in his heart as he speedily dashed towards Yiqing Luo's side. A lady who was drenched in blood, and kept on struggling due to fear, landed in front of Yiqing Luo at a close distance. That pair of eyes, which had already been dyed red with blood, met with Yiqing Luo's peerless beauty as Shangguan Liuli stopped struggling. She stared at Yiqing Luo in terror, as her heart was filled with anger, hatred and resentment. But at this moment, his greatest feeling was fear. If she had to drag Yiqing Luo to die together with her, she wouldn't even bat an eyelid. But if she was tortured by Yiqing Luo to the point of living a life worse than death, she was afraid. Yiqing Luo was simply a devil, a demon who killed without spilling blood. At this moment, Shangguan Liuli saw a smile on Yiqing Luo's face. Her eyes widened in horror. He tried to move away, but Shi Ju's sharp teeth firmly bit her. Yiqing Luo's fingers pinched a tiny pill as she placed it by the side of Shangguan Liuli's mouth. No matter how Shangguan Liuli resisted, in the end this small pill still entered Shangguan Liuli's stomach. What did you give me to eat? Shangguan Liuli's voice was hoarse as she screamed and wanted to vomit out the pill. Yiqing Luo only smiled. A pair of enchanting eyes glowed with a seductive luster under the night sky. Her pink lips slightly opened, and her voice was calm and indifferent. Shi Ju, take her to the Warcraft Forest and throw her to the 3rd or 4th floor. Watch her being eaten until not even her bones are left, and then come back to me. Shi Ju blinked its huge eyes. Don't even think about stealing it. If I find out that you have eaten human flesh, I will not hesitate to drive you back to your mother's side. Yiqing Luo's next sentence made the radiance in Shi Ju's eyes dim down. Roar, Shi Ju responded in a low voice. No matter how delicious human flesh was, it couldn't compare to being able to follow the owner. Holding Shangguan Liuli in its mouth, Shi Ju moved its limbs and dashed towards the direction of the magical beast forest. Shangguan Liuli's screams gradually drifted away. Yiqing Luo only retracted her gaze when the voice disappeared completely. She pulled out a handkerchief and carefully wiped the blood stains on the dagger. Looking at the dagger, which was glowing brightly once again, she then kept the glower flame fan properly. Following that, her charming eyes fixated on a certain spot in the darkness. Her gaze was calm, without any trace of emotion. "How much longer do you want to peek?" A chilly voice dispersed along with the wind. Under the night sky, a crimson figure walked out from the darkness. A crimson-colored brocade robe, wrapped tightly around the young man's slender and tall figure. As the young man neared, the air seemed to be condensed, as though it was frozen by frost. Chapter 13:27. Long time no see, Castle Lord. Yiqing Luo looked at the young man in front of her as she said with a smile. This man wasn't anyone else. He was Death God Castle's Castle Lord, Zhu Wu Exin. Yiqing Luo discovered him squatting at the corner of the wall because of his eye-catching shade of crimson. Or perhaps, Zhu Wu Exin intentionally let her discover his existence. So Yiqing Luo temporarily stopped the torture on Shangguan Liuli. Speaking of this, Shangguan Liuli had to thank Zhu Wu Exin for not letting her suffer such inhumane torture before she died. If Shangguan Liuli knew what Yiqing Luo was thinking about, she would probably vomit out a mouthful of blood. Making her be eaten up by the battle pets, wasn't this considered torture? Young Miss Yi has good methods. Zhu Wu Exin's icy cold face was expressionless. His voice was as usual, apathetic and emotionless. Yiqing Luo knew that he was referring to the matter where she dealt with Shangguan Liuli. She didn't know how long Zhu Wu Exin squatted at the corner of the wall and how much he saw. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to hide as her brows rose in interest. "Don't tell me Castle Lord feels that I'm too vicious? You are indeed vicious and merciless. You fed that woman a pill to maintain her consciousness, right?" Zhu Wuxin said coldly. Yiqing Luo only smiled as she didn't admit nor deny it. The pill which she fed Shangguan Liuli was indeed a pill to maintain her consciousness. That medicinal effect would last till the end of Shangguan Liuli's life. Before she died, even if she was dismembered by the magical beasts, Shangguan Liuli's body would be bitten into pieces by the magical beasts. Shangguan Liuli wouldn't die, nor would she faint from the intense pain. She would only feel clearly how her body was being torn apart, how she entered the magical beast's teeth. Yiqing Luo's smile was filled with a chilly intent. Since Castle Lord also feels that I'm vicious, then why bother me? Zhu Wu Exin didn't reply. Using that pair of clear eyes, he stared at her face without blinking. Suddenly, his figure moved. Before Yiqing Luo could react, a chilly breath sprayed onto her face. The cold touch touched her face. Yiqing Luo knitted her brows tightly, and was about to release her profound qi to counterattack. But she felt his fingers constantly groping the side of her face. His gaze was fixed on her face, as if he was searching for something. Yiqing Luo's resistance stopped. Her brows were still tightly knitted. "Are you suspecting that I have disguised myself?" The man's fingers that were constantly exploring the outline paused, and he said in a low voice, "I can't rule out this possibility." The two of them were very close to each other. As Zhu Wuxin spoke, his warm breath landed on her face. "Then, did you find it?" Yiqing Luo turned her face away unnaturally. She wasn't used to being stained with a man's aura other than emotions. Zhu Wuxin gazed deeply at her. His sharp and cold gaze met hers for several breaths of time. Then, he let go of her. Yiqing Luo immediately took a few steps back and patted her own body. "Your face is real." She wasn't sure if it was Yiqing Luo's misconception. She felt that Zhu Wuxin's voice had become much gentler when he said this. His aura wasn't as cold as ice like before. This change was because he had confirmed the authenticity of her face? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she sized Zhu Wuxin up carefully. She was silently guessing in her heart. This Zhu Wuxin seemed to know her, and they were very familiar with each other. Now, he had come to confirm the authenticity of her face. Could it be? Chapter 1328. Something wasn't right. She had taken over this body for such a long time. She had long become one with this body. In her memories, there was no such person named Zhu Wu Xian. For a man with such a strong presence like Zhu Wu Xian, if she had met him before, how could she not recognize him? Had Zhu Wu Xian remembered wrongly? Or had she really forgotten about Zhu Wu Xian? Seeing Yiqing Luo remaining silent, Zhu Wu Xian's gloomy gaze was fixated on her eyes, as though he was trying to find out some information from her gaze. Their eyes met, and after some time, Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she gave a teasing smile. "I'm so sorry to disappoint Castle Lord. The one who has this face is a vicious and merciless woman." Following that, a cold intent flowed past her charming eyes. She smiled faintly. "So, Castle Lord, don't be affected by this face of mine." Saying that, she turned around and strode into the night. Her red dress was as enchanting as a blooming rose. As she walked, it was as though she was a raging flame, as she drew an arc in the air like the setting sun. Momentarily, it dyed Zhu Wu Xian's clear eyes red. The expression on his face at this instance had some changes. He fixed his gaze on Yiqing Luo's departing figure. Until Yiqing Luo was about to disappear, that serene and cold voice floated into Yiqing Luo's ears along with the wind. "If you want to live on, being vicious and merciless is a necessary method. You're not wrong." Yiqing Luo's footsteps halted. When she turned back, that crimson figure had already disappeared. That sentence of his. What did it mean? Was he finding an excuse for her vicious and merciless actions? Although that was what he said, but his tone was filled with helplessness and a tinge of desolation. What was he trying to do? Did he feel that she would be able to live better in this world in this way? Or did he feel that the current her and the one in his memories was different? Just as she was searching for those memories of herself and Zhu Wu Xian, her waist suddenly tightened as an elegant sandalwood scent entered her nostrils. Warmth instantly enveloped her petite body. Yiqing Luo's body stiffened, and after she felt the familiar embrace, she softened. Before she could even open her mouth, her body was forcefully straightened, facing the man. An overbearing and forceful kiss landed on her lip. This kiss seemed to be asking for something urgently, scorching and overbearing, making Yiqing Luo unable to catch her breath. "Ah, Xian." Yiqing Luo's muffled voice spilled out from her entwined lips. What responded to her was an even more intense kiss. Not knowing how long had passed, Yiqing Luo felt dizzy and her body turned soft like a puddle of water before Dmo Xian stopped this suffocating kiss. She leaned against his chest, gasping for air. The powerful arm around her waist tightened even more. "Ah, Xian." She gasped lightly as she called out Dmo Xian's name. Beside her ears, the sound of the man's heavy breathing came wave after wave. The scorching air hit her skin. After hugging for a long time, Yiqing Luo's breathing finally adjusted. She lifted her head, her eyes still containing a hint of seduction. When she met with that pair of peach blossom eyes which seemed to bear all the tenderness in the world, Yiqing Luo's heart trembled fiercely. She looked at his eyes in a daze, as though she had already sunk into that peach blossom forest, unable to extricate herself. "Other than me, you're not allowed to think of any other man." Chapter 1329. Was he jealous? He had heard the conversation between her and Zhu Wu Xian earlier? Yiqing Luo's brows overflowed with a smile as she cupped his face with both hands. "Ah, Xian, you're too overbearing." The man's brows rose slightly. "Can't I be overbearing towards my own woman?" All right. Yiqing Luo laughed as she fell into his arms as her little head rubbed against his chest like a kitten. "I like Ah Xian's overbearingness." After some time, there was no response from the man. She raised her eyes in puzzlement as she met Dmo Xian's slightly blushing face. She was stunned as though she had discovered a new continent as her eyes widened. Her curious hands cupped his face tightly as she wanted to take a closer look. Diemo Xian's large palm, however, held her two little hands in his palm. Forcefully and overbearingly, he pressed her head into his arms. That boiling hot chest, that heart which kept on beating rapidly, scorched Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo lay in his arms in a daze, not struggling at all. Did she see wrongly? Earlier Diemo Xian was shy. The Diemo Xian who teased her till her pink bubbles were about to swell, teased her till her amorous heart was in turmoil, teasing her till she didn't want it any more. He actually felt shy? Because of a sentence from her, he felt shy? Was she seeing things or her eyes twitched? You're interested in Zhu Wu Xian. A low hoarse voice floated from above her head. His voice was tense, as though he was anxiously trying to change the topic. But this indeed made Yiqing Luo shift her gaze. After all, taking the opportunity when Diemo Xian was shy, to tease him or something. This thought was not valid. She was totally sure. Once she took the opportunity to tease Diemo Xian. She would absolutely not tease Diemo Xian till his pink bubbles were about to swell, and would not tease Diemo Xian till his amorous heart was in turmoil. On the contrary, she would once again be teased by Diemo Xian, shouting, Don't. Without a doubt, the ending would definitely become like this. Hence, Yiqing Luo obediently followed Diemo Xian's topic, denying flatly, no. Staring at his departing figure with a pensive look, You're still saying no? Her nose was pinched harshly by his fingers. Diemo Xian's expression was unfriendly, his hand even touched your face. Cough. Yiqing Luo suddenly coughed out, How much did you see? Diemo Xian's expression was gloomy as he spat out word by word, from head to tail. In other words, Diemo Xian had been following behind her? Watched the entire process? Ugh! She was indeed jealous. Yiqing Luo weakly raised her little claws. I request for an explanation. Approved. Diemo Xian spat out a word. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered as she speedily explained her guess that she might know Chu Wu Xian, and Chu Wu Xian suspected that she was in disguise. He rattled off a long string of words without even taking a breath. A man soaked in a vinegar jar was very scary. Although it was clear that Diemo Xian believed that there was nothing between her and Zhu Wu Xian. But even if it was nothing, he would still feel uncomfortable. Think about it from another perspective. She believed that nothing would happen between Diemo Xian and Feng Ling. But if Feng Ling kept pestering Diemo Xian, she would still feel unhappy. Hence Yiqing Luo didn't hold back as she explained the entire sequence of events clearly. Diemo Xian's fingers brushed past the contours of her face as he squinted his peach blossom eyes. I'm just confirming if you're in disguise or not? Yiqing Luo nodded her head like a little chick pecking rice. Chapter 1330. Yiqing Luo's lips felt extremely scorching from his slender fingers. Look, this man was flirting with her again. His flirting was so natural that it made one blush. Earlier she must have seen wrongly when she saw him being shy. His ability is above mine and his speed is also above mine. I didn't intentionally let him touch me, so you can't blame me. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as her eyelids drooped down. Zhu Wu Xian was standing right in front of her in an instant. She didn't even have a chance to react. Furthermore, he wants to prove if I'm the real Yiqing Luo. If I don't let him personally verify that I'm not in disguise, then things will become even more complicated. Just as she was saying that, Diemo Xian's finger took the opportunity to enter her lips. So you obediently allowed his dirty hand to touch your face? The man's voice was extremely soft, revealing a sliver of dangerous aura. His low and hoarse voice gave off an intoxicating allure. Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine. The finger that was moving on her teeth seemed to have some magical power. Her heart started to beat faster. The blushing young lady raised her eyes slightly. A pair of bewitching eyes looked towards Diemo Xian, then, "How do you want to punish me?" Under the silent night, Yiqing Luo clearly heard the man's throat making a rumbling sound. That peerless face was covered with an expression that made her blush to her ears. His gaze was naked, as though he could see through her clothes and see everything about her. Diemo Xian's long arms tightened, as he couldn't wait to rub the young lady's soft body into his body. His hoarse voice was filled with magnetism. "There's still a few more days." Yiqing Luo trembled slightly. She knew what he was asking. How many more days was her menstruation period? Perhaps it was because she had been teased by Diemo Xian for a long time. Her body was already used to Diemo Xian's touch and teasing. Just sniffing his scent and listening to his voice. Yiqing Luo felt her legs turning into jelly as her entire body felt limp. She didn't get any response from the young lady. Diemo Xian's brows rose slightly as the hand which was around her waist suddenly moved downwards towards her abdomen. "Not willing to say? Then I'll check personally." Just as it reached her lower abdomen, the hand was pressed down by the girl in a panic. The young girl's red face was filled with anger and humiliation. "Beast!" Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth and spat out, "Test, test, test. What the hell are you doing?" As he said that, he angrily flung Diemo Xian's hand away. They were still on the street. There was even a corpse lying on the ground. Was it really okay for him to touch her body like that? Even if he was in heat, he had to look at the place. Yiqing Luo glared at the man who had an evil smile on his face and pushed him away. "Go back to the mansion, come back tomorrow to apply for leave." Looking at the back view of Yiqing Luo leaving in a huff, Diemo Xian laughed heartily. The more she laughed, the faster Yiqing Luo left. The moment she turned around, her entire face was flushed red. She couldn't help but think to herself, "If I had known that I would fall into the hands of this man, I would have done more research on seducing men in the 21st century." Then she flirted with Diemo Xian till he didn't want to. The next day, after Yiqing Luo woke up, she didn't see Diemo Xian's figure as usual. She rubbed her forehead and muttered to herself, "Beauty is the bane of men." Being teased left and right by Diemo Xian, she had forgotten to tell him about what she had overheard in the academy. She also forgot to ask where he had gone for the whole day. If she saw him today, she must ask clearly. Chapter 1331. After walking out of the room, the door of Yan Xiaoyi's room was already wide open. Yiqing Luo walked over. As expected, she saw Shi Shanglan feeding Yan Xiaoyi medicine gently. Yan Xiaoyi was drinking the medicine with a blank look. Her eyes were empty and lifeless, not knowing what she was thinking about. Shi Shanglan said something in a low voice but didn't get any response from Yan Xiaoyi, but he still continued to talk. Hearing a sound from the door, Shi Shanglan stopped his rambling and turned his head towards the door. When he saw Yiqing Luo, he smiled warmly. "Good morning, Miss Yi." "Good morning." Yiqing Luo walked into the room and took a look at the medicinal soup in Shi Shanglan's hands. "Today the academy is summoning the students back to the academy. I intend to apply for leave for them, so I'll have to trouble young Master Shi to take care of my brothers." "Xiao Yi's brothers are my brothers, Miss Yi, please rest assured." Shi Shanglan put down the medicinal soup in his hands and smiled sincerely. Yiqing Luo's vision fell onto the medicine bowl which was put down. A deep meaning flashed past her eyes. Shi Shanglan seemed to have noticed that his actions were inappropriate as he hurriedly reached out to take that medicine bowl. Yiqing Luo's speed was faster than him. "It's still early to go to the academy. I'll accompany Xiao Yi." Yiqing Luo took the medicine bowl and sat down by the bed. Shi Shanglan retracted his hand sensibly. "I'll go take a look at the other brothers first, if there's anyone who needs my help to take care of." Shi Shanglan walked out of the room. Yiqing Luo didn't say a word as she silently fed Yan Xiaoyi the medicine. Yan Xiaoyi didn't seem to notice that the person feeding her the medicine had changed. She only swallowed mouthfuls of bitter medicinal soup in a daze, without even batting an eyelid. Until the bowl of medicinal soup was emptied, the two of them didn't say a single word. Yiqing Luo's vision swept to a corner outside the room. The smile at the corner of his mouth deepened. Xishang Lan was still outside the door and hadn't left. He thought that he had concealed it well. But with Yiqing Luo's perceptive ability, she could totally sense Xishang Lan's presence. The minute she stepped into this room, Yiqing Luo sensed that something was wrong with Xishang Lan. For 2 consecutive mornings, Xishang Lan had been feeding Yan Xiaoyi medicine. And earlier, when she said that she wanted to apply for leave, Xishang Lan subconsciously put down the medicinal soup. Obviously, his mind wasn't on feeding Yan Xiaoyi the medicine. Otherwise, no matter what he heard, he would not have stopped feeding the medicine. Now that he was quietly hiding outside the door, it was obvious that he was trying to find out some information. This Xishang Lan, there was indeed a problem. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she placed the bowl of medicine aside. Perhaps it was because the house was too quiet. If Xishang Lan stayed any longer, he would be easily discovered. In the end, he left quietly. Until Xishang Lan's aura completely disappeared. Yiqing Luo then calmly opened her mouth. Jin Zi came looking for you? When he heard the words Jinzi, his dull eyes blinked. After some time, the focal length converged onto Yiqing Luo's face. Yan Xiaoyi was stunned. Qing Luo, why are you here? Yiqing Luo's slender fingers caressed that pair of obviously swollen eyes. Have you spoken to Jinzi? When he watched Yan Xiaoyi sleep last night, she was still fine. When she woke up this morning, she saw Yan Xiaoyi's red and swollen eyes, looking as though she had lost her soul. Other than Xiao Jin, there was probably no one else who could make Yan Xiaoyi reveal such an expression. Yan Xiaoyi shook her head as her head leaned towards the direction of the bed. He only wished me and Xishang Lan happiness. The last 2 words were said with great difficulty. Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. What was Xiao Jin up to? Did he really intend to give up on Yan Xiaoyi? And wish Yan Xiaoyi and Xishang Lan happiness? Chapter 1332. At this moment, Yiqing Luo simply didn't know what to say. Yiqing Luo expressed that she really couldn't understand Xiao Jin's train of thought. He would only be satisfied if he saw Yan Xiaoyi and Xishang Lan living happily and happily. Last night, he came to my room to check on my injuries. Yan Xiaoyi's voice was very soft, almost inaudible. After that, she laughed softly. I thought he liked me. Otherwise, why would he specially come to check on my injuries in the middle of the night? That laughter revealed obvious bitterness. Yiqing Luo's pink lips moved, but ultimately she didn't say out Xiao Jin's thought. There was no doubt that Xiao Jin liked Yan Xiaoyi. But he chose to give up. Just like what Dmo Xian had said, although Xiao Jin was a timid person, but he would not go so far as to personally push the woman he liked into someone else's arms. He had his own reasons for doing so. He had his own difficulties that he couldn't tell them. Xiao Jin had many secrets on him. This was something that Yiqing Luo knew. He had his reasons for giving up on Yan Xiaoyi. As an outsider, it's not good for her to point out Xiao Jin's feelings towards Yan Xiaoyi. Perhaps it would be more harmful to the two of them if they made things clear. Dmo Xian had specially instructed her not to interfere in their relationship. Looking at Yan Xiaoyi's sad look, Yiqing Luo couldn't bear to see her like this. His heart was in a mess. She let out a long sigh. But, he said that he felt guilty because of what he did to me. He felt that he had let down my fiancé. Yan Xiaoyi's voice became increasingly broken and trembling. Haha, fiancé. I've never acknowledged Xishang Lan as my fiancé, but he kept putting Xishang Lan as my fiancé. Then he smiled. His smile was very sincere and filled with blessings. He asked me to live a good life with Xishang Lan and asked me to marry him as soon as possible. She was pushed by the man she loved to another man. This kind of pain was like a sharp knife, ruthlessly stabbing his heart. He was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. Marriage? How could she accept this? He wasn't the one they were going to marry. Yan Xiaoyi's voice was already choking. Towards the end, he was almost choking with sobs. She seemed to recall the scene last night when Qiao Jin said these words to her. Yiqing Luo's heart ached, but she couldn't say anything to comfort her. In the end, he could only sigh helplessly. Holding a handkerchief, he bent over to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. At this time, it was useless to say anything else. He could only stay by her side silently. Tell her, at least, she is not alone. The room fell into silence. About an hour later, Long Yunzhan's voice came from outside the door, telling her to return to the academy to apply for leave. Yiqing Luo stuffed the handkerchief into Yan Xiaoyi's palm and was just about to get up when her sleeve was tugged by Yan Xiaoyi. Startled, she turned to look at Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi's gaze was resolute as the corners of her mouth curled into a strange smile. Since he wishes me and she Shang Lan. Alright. I will fulfill his wish. Yiqing Luo knitted her brows. Do you know what you're saying? I'm very calm. Yan Xiaoyi nodded calmly with a smile on her face. Feelings can't be used to act out of spite. You'll only hurt yourself in this way. Yiqing Luo realized what Yan Xiaoyi wanted to do and immediately dissuaded her. I know, I'm very calm now. Although she said that, but Yan Xiaoyi's eyes revealed a chilly intent, with a hint of madness. Extremely shallow, totally indiscernible madness. Chapter 1333. Qing Luo, what's wrong? Outside the door, Long Yunzhan's voice approached. Yiqing Luo took a look at Yan Xiaoyi, whose eyes were red. If Long Yunzhan saw Yan Xiaoyi like this, he would definitely ask for the reason. After asking for the reason, it would be especially awkward. Yiqing Luo hurriedly stood up and shouted towards the door, Don't come in, I'll be right there. After saying that, he turned around and patted Yan Xiaoyi's hand lightly. Xiaoyi, rest well first. Don't think too much about other things. Wait for me to come back. Yan Xiaoyi didn't answer. She just pulled the corners of her lips and smiled. Yiqing Luo held her little hand tightly. Worried that Long Yunzhan would push open the door and enter, he didn't stay any longer and left Yan Xiaoyi's room. Before closing the door, she looked deeply at Yan Xiaoyi. Yan Xiaoyi's expression was calm as she quietly laid on the bed. Her gaze was fixed in front of her and no one knew what she was thinking. Thinking about it, Yiqing Luo was still worried. After telling Long Yunzhan to wait for her for a while, she went to Kitty Li's room. In Kitty Li's body flowed the blood of the beastmen. Its ability to heal wounds was extremely strong. And in the competition, Yiqing Luo didn't allow Kitty Li to go up on stage. Thus, Kitty Li's injuries had mostly healed. Unlike the other brothers who couldn't get out of bed and walk around, she could already walk around the mansion. Yiqing Luo asked Kitty Li to go to Yan Xiaoyi's room to accompany her for a chat. At least, it wouldn't let Yan Xiaoyi's imagination run wild. Towards what Yiqing Luo had instructed, Kitty Li agreed to it. Heavenly Academy. On the holiday after the competition, the entrance of the academy was packed with people. It was extremely lively. Everyone's mouths were discussing the ending of the interclass competition, as well as the rise of the devil class. There were also quite a few people who said that they had been chatting happily with some faction in the past 2 days, or that they wanted to join some faction, and so on. But very quickly, this kind of bragging was suppressed by the craze of devil class. Have you heard? Devil class's Yiqing Luo. Didn't she establish a mercenary group, and yesterday she got someone to burn the mercenary group's base to death. It is said that more than 100 charred corpses were carried out from the base. Yiqing Luo's character is so arrogant, relying on her own power, totally not giving others any face. Offending others is a matter of time. Even if she were to be burnt to death, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Student Yi is arrogant, but that's because she has the capital to be arrogant. If you have the ability, why don't you try being arrogant as well? Bah! Yiqing Luo's brainless fan, you lackey! Saying the grapes are sour when you can't eat them. People like you deserve to look up to classmate Yi for the rest of your life. As the discussion went on, it inexplicably turned into a fight. Immediately a peacemaker changed the topic. Don't get your attention wrong, what I mean is that mercenary group which Yi Qing Luo established, the mercenaries inside, are actually devil classes students? How is that possible? This guess was refuted by the majority of the students. The students had all heard of Yi Qing Luo's mercenary group. On the second day after it was established, it was promoted to a bronze mercenary group. Even a complex mission could be completed with only 60 or so members. It could be said that the World Mercenary Group had a little fame in the mercenary world, and anyone who mentioned it couldn't help but raise their thumbs up. Devil classes students were the World Group's members? Was this a joke? Chapter 1334. It was just a guess, but it quickly spread like wildfire. More than half of the people who believed that Devil classes students were the World Group's members. Because as long as the number of Devil classes students and the World Group's members were compared, the answer would be revealed. When Yi Qing Luo and Long Yunzhan both appeared, they heard the bustling discussions around them. Very quickly, someone noticed Yi Qing Luo's arrival. Heavy responsibility's eyes immediately lit up. They were obviously wearing the Academy's uniform, green and white robes without any patterns at all. No matter how one looked at it, it looked old-fashioned. But unfortunately, on Yi Qing Luo's body, it looked so elegant and moving. The green and white long robe made Yi Qing Luo's devastatingly beautiful face look even more holy and elegant. A pair of dazzling eyes drew a long and charming arc momentarily. Numerous male students' gazes were glued onto Yi Qing Luo. Ah! Look quickly! It's Yi Qing Luo. The one beside her, why does he look familiar? Look at that pair of eyes. Long Yunzhan didn't disguise himself today. He used his original looks to display in front of everyone's eyes. But Long Yunzhan's unique azure blue eyes were extremely recognizable. Just one look and quite a number of students recognized him. This was the Devil class monitor whose ability was second only to Yi Qing Luo in the interclass competition, Long Yunzhan. Devil class monitor is just too handsome. No wonder he had to disguise himself when he took part in the interclass competition. What disguise? I saw him in the competition. He changed into another person. You're just jealous that Devil class monitor's ability is so strong and handsome. Tisk. Damn love-struck fool. The surrounding students stared at Long Yunzhan as they discussed noisily. Yi Qing Luo and Long Yunzhan didn't bother about the surroundings. Under the escort of numerous students, the two of them directly walked into the academy. Behind them, a large group of people followed. Their mouths kept on discussing about Devil class, the World Mercenary Group, and that fire the day before yesterday. Along the way, they arrived at the director's office in a grandiose manner. The director heard the teacher's report that 2 students from Devil class wanted to meet the director. The teacup in the director's hand almost dropped onto the ground. Why did Yi Qing Luo, that plague god, look for him so early in the morning? Could it be, now that they knew about his relationship with the Dark faction, they wanted to seek revenge? Yi Qing Luo's backing was the Imperial Palace. For Yi Qing Luo, the Imperial Palace's disciples had already sent out their troops, constantly harassing and attacking the Dark forces. Although he had never been to the underground forces, he had been working for them for many years. In the underground organization, the dean had his own people. He knew that the Wolf Saint technique's influence had been affected because of the Imperial Palace's recent momentum. If he was implicated in this matter, he might not be able to hold his position as the principal for long. Director was feeling apprehensive, but outside the director's room, not only were there Yi Qing Luo and Long Yunzhan, there were thousands of students. He could not refuse to meet the students of the class that had won first place. Suppressing the uneasiness in his heart, the principal waved his hand and invited them in. What made the dean rejoice was, Yi Qing Luo didn't have the slightest bit of doubt towards him. After entering the director's office, he went straight to the point and asked for leave. The dean heaved a sigh of relief, but his heart felt inexplicably guilty. Hence Yi-Ching Luo used the excuse that Devil Class's students had suffered serious injuries in the competition and had to stay in bed to recuperate, to request for half a month's leave. Chapter 1335. Yi-Ching Luo smiled slightly as she politely thanked him. She squinted her eyes as she sized up the director with a smile which didn't look like a smile, as she couldn't help but laugh in her heart. She didn't know how this director managed to survive for so many years without anyone noticing anything strange about him. He was just here specially to meet him, and he was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. Such a timid person, even the dark forces dared to use him. Oh right, it was because director was timid that the dark forces dared to rush in. Yi-Ching Luo hid the disdainful sneer in her eyes as she smiled faintly. Thank you, director, for empathizing with the students. I represent Devil Class students to thank director. Actually, Ghost Doctor had mentioned to me about the matter of applying for leave earlier. Director beamed as he said, trying his best to maintain his calm expression. With Ghost Doctor personally treating Devil Class students will definitely recover as soon as possible. With director's auspicious words, Devil Class students will definitely recover as soon as possible. Yi-Ching Luo smiled as she said, so? Devil Class's reward this time will probably have to be delayed. What does director think? How about after the Academy's exchange meet? Director's smile froze. He then recalled that Yi-Ching Luo had challenged Zi Chantian and won, so she could choose 10 students to enter the class of gods to learn. Enter the class of gods to learn. It wasn't just learning, but specially selected to become his lordship's food. These 10 students were outstanding students who had gone through several rounds of competitions and were finally chosen to enter the class of gods. Although it was called training, it was actually to become the most delicious food and to undergo a month of rearing before presenting them to his lordship. Now, the students of the Devil Class obtained victory. Even if they chose the strongest 10 students in Devil Class, no matter how they reared them, they would still be inferior food. His lordship would definitely blame him. Of course, this was the rule that had been set over the years. If he rejected Devil Class, not only would he not be able to answer to the world, he would not be able to answer to the main courtyard. Thinking of this, director broke out in cold sweat. Does director feel that my suggestion is inappropriate? Yi-Ching Luo half squinted her eyes as she looked at him with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Director suddenly regained his senses as he raised his hand to wipe the sweat off his forehead. Not knowing why, the more he faced Yi-Ching Luo, the more he felt guilty. It was as if that pair of quick-witted eyes had already seen through everything in his heart. Then it's decided. After the exchange meet, the students from the class of devils will go to the class of gods to continue their studies. The dean adjusted his own mentality, trying hard to maintain the calmness in his heart. Speaking of the Academy Exchange Conference, he had forgotten, when the time came, he just had to think of a way to let the Devil Class students go to the Blazing Flame Nest. Everything after that would be left to the Wolf Saint Law. As long as all the Devil Class students died in the Blazing Flame Nest, he would then be able to arrange for other food to enter the class of gods to be raised, no, trained. With that thought in mind, the dean's anxious heart finally calmed down. In order to perform well in the Academy's exchange meet a month later, I'll have to trouble student Yi to take good care of the students of Devil Class and strive to recover as soon as possible. Yi-Ching Luo smiled lightly. I will definitely not disappoint director. She emphasized the word disappointed with a hidden meaning. Right now, the headmaster's thoughts were all on how to trick the students of the various academies into going to the Flame Nest during the exchange meet. Thus, he did not understand the deeper meaning behind Qin Lai's words. His gaze landed on Long Yunzhan, who had not spoken a single word since entering the dean's office. Chapter 1336. This is... Director's expression turned slightly strange. His vision stared at Long Yunjan's eyes without blinking. This azure-blue gem-like eyes. Why did it look so familiar? In the bottom of his heart, a strange feeling started to spread. This is Devil-class monitor Long Yunjan. Director should have seen him during the interclass competition. Yiqing Luo didn't miss any expression from Director. His astonishment and strangeness were all in her eyes. Only she didn't understand, why would Director use such a gaze, to look at Long Yunjan? Could it be that he knew Long Yunjan previously? Devil class monitor. Director muttered a few words. In his memory, he had indeed seen this young man with a pair of blue pupils that day during the competition. But this face, this pair of eyes. He was Devil class monitor? Could it be his lordship? Director, is there any problem? Yiqing Luo's puzzled voice was heard. Director's deep thoughts were interrupted. He immediately kept his emotions, shook his head and waved his hand, as though he was anxious to draw a clear line. No problem, I just feel that Devil class monitor and the previous competition looks different. Yiqing Luo didn't hide it, because Zhan is also a member of the World Group. If we don't disguise ourselves during the competition, if we are discovered by other mercenary groups, then Devil class will not be able to compete in peace. Disguise. Director's face turned pale once again. This made him recall the scene of Butterfly Saint Technique disguising herself as Lu Shuiyu to participate in the finals. Although Director was suspecting if those so-called disguised students and Devil class students were the same. But he couldn't show it out. After all, there was already Butterfly Saint Technique. If they really wanted to investigate the matter of disguise, Butterfly Saint Technique could easily be implicated. It's getting late, I have to go and chat with the elders. You need to recuperate from your injuries, go back first. Director waved his hand. Yiqing Luo bid farewell to Director and left the Director's office with Long Yunjan. Before leaving, Yiqing Luo specially observed Director's expression. As expected, Director's gaze was fixed on Long Yunjan, as though he was confirming something. Director, he had met Long Yunjan previously? And there seemed to be some special relationship? After walking out of the Director's office, Yiqing Luo's peripheral vision swept the surroundings as she suppressed her voice. Zhan, have you and the Director met before? I don't remember. Long Yunjan also noticed that there was something wrong with the dean's strange gaze. His handsome brows furrowed slightly. Ever since I can remember, I've been in the Devil class for almost 5 years, but I've never met the dean face to face. Yiqing Luo remained silent for a moment. There's a possibility. Director knows about the memory you've lost. The look in the dean's eyes was not as simple as he said. In Long Yunjan's memory, he had never had a face-to-face chat with the dean. In other words, other than Long Yunjan's memories, the dean had seen him before. Where and under what circumstances did he meet Long Yunjan? Perhaps through the principal, he would be able to retrieve the lost memories of Long Yunjan. Upon hearing Yiqing Luo's words, Long Yunjan's expression instantly froze. He knows the past me? If my intuition isn't wrong, you can put it that way. Yiqing Luo nodded. After we return to the academy, we can start to investigate. Long Yunjan lowered his eyes. His thick long lashes covered the emotions in his eyes. From Yiqing Luo's angle, she looked at his half-emotionless side profile. Inexplicably, a surge of melancholy arose from the bottom of her heart. A life without any memories was very scary. Towards the past, only a piece of blank space was very scary. Chapter 1337. Returning to the Shi family's residence, Long Yunjan's emotions were complicated as he went straight back to his room. Yiqing Luo didn't stop him. At this moment, Long Yunjan definitely wanted to be alone for a while. To be alone, to recall that blank memory. Looking at Long Yunjan's departing figure, Yiqing Luo suddenly thought of something as she summoned Chi-Chi from the pet space. Chi-Chi was a sacred beast white tiger, and it was very clear about some matters regarding the human and dragon race. If Chi-Chi and Long Yunjian had a good chat, to Long Yunjian it should make him feel better. Chi-Chi gave a howl as it wagged its tail and its petite body chased after Long Yunjian. Just as Chi-Chi disappeared, a huge black figure descended from the sky and landed in front of her with a single leap. Shiju, welcome back. Yiqing Luo patted its head. Shiju's ears twitched as its huge eyes looked towards the direction where Chi-Chi disappeared. It turned its head to look at Yiqing Luo as it gave a puzzled tone, roar, as though it was asking what Chi-Chi was doing there. It will be back to accompany you in a while. Yiqing Luo's gaze turned gentle as she laughed lightly. Have you completed the things that I instructed you to do? Shiju's huge head nodded fiercely as it howled a few times with a roar 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 sound. Witness Shangguan Luli being torn apart by the magical beasts? When did she die? Yiqing Luo's lips curled up in satisfaction as her tone was calm, totally unlike a discussion about a person's death. Roar! Shiju responded as its huge head swayed as it rubbed against Yiqing Luo's palm. Yiqing Luo nodded. She only died when the head was bitten? Indeed a scourge, its vitality is so tenacious. Before Shangguan Luli died, the pain she suffered was not even comparable to her brother's pain. Just letting her maintain her consciousness and enjoy the pain of being bitten by the magical beasts was considered letting her off easy. Of course, she wouldn't let Shangguan Luli die so easily. Magic Beast Forest was filled with dense yin qi. The air was filled with a bone-chilling yin qi. And in the Magic Beast Forest, the souls of the deceased who were dismembered by the magical beasts would similarly be devoured by the magical beasts. Which meant, Shangguan Luli had no afterlife. She was gone forever. Go take a rest. By the time you wake up, Chi-Chi will be back. Yiqing Luo rubbed Shiju's head as she spoke in a gentle voice. Shiju howled in a low voice. Its body suddenly became the size of a palm. It leapt onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder and stuck out its tongue to lick Yiqing Luo's face before withdrawing back into the pet space. Yiqing Luo's fingertips brushed past the wetness on her cheek. He couldn't help but reveal a gentle smile on his face. Magical Beast Forest. That was where Shiju's mother was. Yiqing Luo had her own selfish motives for letting Shiju go over. She wanted Shiju to take a look at its mother. She thought that since Shiju did not return from the magical beast forest for a night, it must have gone to see its mother. But Shiju did not. Touching Shiju's fur, he could clearly feel the moisture on its body. It was the touch of being wet with dew. Shiju's intimacy towards her seemed to be because it wanted to feel a trace of warmth from her. Last night, after watching Shangguan Luli being devoured, he had indeed gone to the 5th level. But it didn't meet its mother. It only stood at the 5th level, looking at the place where it grew up, looking at its mother from afar. This child. Chapter 1338. Suddenly, Yiqing Luo seemed to understand something. This was the reason why Shiju's mother could not bear to part with Shiju, but still insisted that she take Shiju away. Because of Shiju. They needed to follow in the footsteps of humans and grow slowly. Right now, Shiju was slowly becoming stronger, slowly, becoming a truly mature mirage beast. She believed. One day, she would definitely be able to bring Shiju back to the 5th level of the magical beast forest in a flashy manner. He brought Shiju to see Shiju's mother in the most dazzling way. After adjusting her emotions, Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of Yan Shaoyi's courtyard. Before she left, Yan Shaoyi's expression and that sentence made Yiqing Luo extremely worried. Although he had Kitty Li look after Yan Shaoyi, Kitty Li herself was still a child. She might not be able to take good care of Yan Shaoyi. As he was thinking, he had already arrived at the door of Yan Shaoyi's room. The door was tightly shut and there was no sound at all. Yiqing Luo frowned. If Kitty Li was around, the room shouldn't be so quiet. He knocked on the door, but there was no response. She pursed her lips and pushed the door open. As expected, it was just as he had imagined. The room was empty. The bed that Yan Xiaoyi had lain on was neat and tidy, and a new set of bedding had been changed. Blue bedding. This was Yan Xiaoyi's favorite color. The chilly air in the air told her that no one had entered this room for at least 2 hours. Yan Xiaoyi's injuries were serious and she had to stay in bed to recuperate. Why would he leave this room? Wasn't Kitty Li taking care of Yan Xiaoyi? Why was Kitty Li nowhere to be seen? Looking at the tidy new bedding on the bed, Yan Xiaoyi shouldn't have gotten into any trouble. He should still be in this residence. Yiqing Luo left the courtyard and saw a maidservant carrying a medicinal soup, walking forward carefully. She stopped the maid and asked where Yan Xiaoyi went. The maidservant bowed politely and said, "Eldest young master is sunbathing with the future eldest young mistress in the garden. This servant is preparing to deliver medicine to the future eldest young mistress." Garden? Sunbathing? Shi Shanglan brought them over? Could it be that he didn't know that a patient who was seriously injured due to profound energy could not be easily moved? Seeing Yiqing Luo's expression sunk, the maid hurriedly explained, "Seventh Miss Yi, please don't worry. Eldest young master specially asked Sir Ghost Doctor before he brought future eldest young madam to the garden. Moreover, Master Qiao and Miss Li Mao are both in the garden, so future eldest young madam will be fine." Hearing Ghost Doctor's name, Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief. But when she heard the second half of the sentence, Yiqing Luo suddenly felt a gust of wind messed up. Qiao Jin was also here? What the hell was going on? Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to say anything as she dashed towards the direction of the garden. Just as he reached the entrance of the garden, he heard Kitty Li's joyful laughter coming from within. From afar, he could see all kinds of colorful flowers. The flowers were bright and beautiful, and they were incomparably beautiful. A black figure was fluttering among the flowers, chasing after the butterflies. Not far away, there were 3 people sitting in a pavilion. Just by looking at the surface, there was a warm atmosphere. But Yiqing Luo, who knew the inside story, obviously saw the shapeless sword shadows in the air. Yan Xiaoyi sat on a wheelchair which looked like a wheelchair. Shi Shanglan leaned close to her, occasionally inquiring about her well-being, passing over some fruits which had already been peeled. Yan Xiaoyi looked at the flowers, at Kitty Li who was fluttering about, as she laughed softly from time to time. Occasionally, she would turn her head sideways and eat the fruits which Shi Shanglan passed to her lip. Whereas, on the side of the stone table, Qiao Jin sat there expressionlessly. Chapter 1339. The correct way to show off their affection in front of their love rivals should not be. Qiao Jin bristled with anger. He realized that he couldn't stand Yan Xiaoyi being with another man, so he forcefully snatched her back and started a series of love and hate. However, the reality was, Yiqing Luo wanted to ridicule in her heart. "Jin Zi, aren't you a little too calm? Isn't there something wrong with this style?" Feng Ling had only held on to Dmo Xian's arm, and she already had the urge to tear Feng Ling apart. Chu Wuxin had only checked if she was in disguise and touched her face when Dmo Xian got jealous and punished her harshly. When he saw the loving scene of Yan Xiaoyi and Shi Shanglan, Qiao Jin was actually sitting at the side and watching. Qiao Jin's heart was so strong. In any case, if it were her, she would definitely not be able to remain so calm. "Kitty." Yiqing Luo called Kitty Li's name as she walked into the flowers. With a plop, a small figure fell beside her legs. The petals splashed up, flying with the wind. Kitty Li raised her head. Due to her fall, the black hat on her head had fallen to the ground, revealing 2 black cat ears. When he saw Yiqing Luo, his ears twitched and he beamed with joy. "Sister, you're back." Yiqing Luo picked up her hat and helped her put it on as she asked in a low voice, "Didn't I ask you to take care of Xiaoyi? Why did you bring her here?" Kitty Li stuck onto Yiqing Luo as she hugged her arm with both hands. "Young master," she saw that Sister Xiaoyi wanted to come out to bask in the sun, so he asked Sister Xiaoyi to come out to bask in the sun with him. Brother Jean Z also agreed, so Kitty Lee felt that there shouldn't be any problem. Jean Z also agreed? In other words, did Jean Z really intend to give up and matchmake Yan Xiaoyi and Shi Shanglan? Fine. Very good, very powerful. She didn't need to rely on the wall to admire Qiao Jin. I'll go take a look. Yiqing Luo rubbed Kitty Lee's head. The furry texture was as soft as a kitten's. Kitty Lee nodded her head vigorously as she released Yiqing Luo's arm. Then, it jumped back into the flowers. Even in human form, Kitty Lee still retained the characteristics of a half-beast. Cats were especially interested in moving things, and Kitty Lee was no exception. When Yiqing Luo walked to the pavilion, Shi Shanglan was feeding Yan Xiaoyi a piece of sparkling sweet pear. Yan Xiaoyi lifted her eyelids as she forced out a smile. Qing Luo, how's the matter of applying for leave? The dean agreed. Yiqing Luo sat by Qiao Jin's side and glanced sideways at Qiao Jin before looking at Shi Shanglan. Why is young master Shi so free? Shi Shanglan looked at Yan Xiaoyi warmly. His eyes were filled with tenderness as he replied, Xiaoyi is so badly injured. As her fiancé, if I am not by her side, I am not fit to be a man. Also, I want to be by her side. Yiqing Luo was at a loss for words as she gave a dry laugh. He kept sizing up Qiao Jin from the corner of his eyes. He realized that this fellow was indeed mentally strong. Up until now, his expression had not changed at all. It was as if he did not care about Shi Shanglan's words at all. If she didn't know that Qiao Jin truly liked Yan Xiaoyi. Yiqing Luo probably thought that. Qiao Jin really didn't have any thoughts towards Yan Xiaoyi. Lan, when are we getting married? Yan Xiaoyi's calm voice was heard. Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she almost spilled the teacup in her hands. She suddenly put down the teacup as she stared at Yan Xiaoyi. What did you say earlier? Chapter 1340. Marriage? Yan Xiaoyi was planning to marry Shi Shanglan? Was there a mistake? Yiqing Luo finally understood what Yan Xiaoyi meant when she said those words in the morning. Yan Xiaoyi wanted to marry Shi Shanglan as Qiao Jin wished? Take revenge on Qiao Jin with your life's happiness? Yiqing Luo didn't know what she should say to dissuade Yan Xiaoyi. She knew very well in her heart the decision that Yan Xiaoyi had made, unless Qiao Jin personally spoke. Otherwise, Yan Xiaoyi would really disregard everything and marry Shi Shanglan. If she really got married, Yan Xiaoyi would definitely regret it in the future. Why was Yan Xiaoyi so rash? Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly. When he thought of the culprit sitting beside him, he glared at him furiously. He lifted his leg and kicked Qiao Jin's calf. Qiao Jin's gaze still remained in front of him, as if he was looking at the flowers that filled the sky, and also as if he was thinking deeply about something. He totally did not notice Yiqing Luo's action of kicking him. At this critical juncture, how could Qiao Jin be in a daze? Yiqing Luo couldn't control her anger as she lifted her leg and kicked his calf hard. This kick finally made Qiao Jin come back to his senses. But he didn't act like his usual self, jumping up and pointing at Yiqing Luo as he scolded her. His gaze was calm as he took a faint glance at Yiqing Luo and immediately shifted his gaze away. Then, he looked towards Yan Xiaoyi, his voice and tone no different than usual. The 20th of this month is an auspicious day. Coincidentally, it is also the time when the brothers' injuries are healed. Why not choose to get married then? As soon as these words came out, the entire pavilion fell into a deathly silence. The faint smile on Yan Xiaoyi's face froze. She stared blankly at Qiao Jin, trying to find a trace of emotion on his face. However, she saw nothing but sincerity. Qiao Jin really, sincerely chose an auspicious day for them. The 20th of this month. Half a month later. Did he really want her to get married as soon as possible so that he could chase her away? He hated her that much? Yiqing Luo was completely stunned. They couldn't believe that these words actually came out of Qiao Jin's mouth. She stared at Qiao Jin's expressionless side profile and felt a surge of anger in her heart. Perhaps it was because she was also a woman. She also didn't know why Qiao Jin had given up on Yan Xiaoyi. At this moment, she deeply despised Qiao Jin's cowardice and his eagerness to push Yan Xiaoyi into someone else's arms. He once thought Qiao Jin was a daring, responsible, and unyielding person. But after Qiao Jin said these words, all these thoughts completely vanished into thin air. The 20th of this month? Shi Shanglan's voice broke the eerie silence. Although time is pressing, I am very willing to marry Xiao Yi as soon as possible. He held Yan Xiaoyi's hand tightly and said sincerely, Xiao Yi, don't worry. Even if time is tight, I will definitely give you a grand wedding. Yan Xiaoyi stared blankly at Qiao Jin. A long time passed. His pale lips moved slightly, and he spat out a word, okay. At the same time, an urgent voice covered Yan Xiaoyi's reply, no. I disagree. The few of them looked towards Yiqing Luo, who was banging the table and standing up at the same time. Miss Yi. Shi Shanglan also stood up as his face was filled with uneasiness. I swear, I will treat Xiao Yi well. If Miss Yi has any dissatisfaction towards me, I can correct it. Chapter 1341. When their gazes fell onto her, Yiqing Luo suddenly regained her senses. What I mean is... Yiqing Luo's pink lips pursed tightly as she took a look at the expressionless Qiao Jin and clenched her fists tightly. Xiao Yi is still young and the world group needs a strong assistant like Xiao Yi. If she gets married now, wouldn't she have to leave the academy? This doesn't affect. I don't mind Xiao Yi. Shi Shanglan was stunned as he immediately replied. No way. Yiqing Luo interrupted his words. I mind. As the world group's vice group leader, I mind very much. Young master, she already said he doesn't mind. What do you mind about? Qiao Jin frowned. Yiqing Luo shut her eyes as she calmed her breathing. After getting married, Xiao Yi will no longer be alone. Even if young master she doesn't mind Xiao Yi continuing to study in the academy and doesn't mind Xiao Yi joining the world group. But as his wife, no matter what, she has to put her family first and the team second. Her persuasion towards Yan Xiao Yi wasn't just because of Qiao Jin. More accurately speaking, when Qiao Jin was anxious for Yan Xiao Yi and Shi Shanglan to get married, Yiqing Luo was already disappointed with Qiao Jin. From what she thought, no matter how big the reason was, he shouldn't be so anxious to push his beloved woman into another man's arms. Let's not talk about what kind of feelings Yan Xiao Yi had towards Shi Shanglan. Just Qiao Jin's, if I don't want it, throw it to someone else, attitude made Yiqing Luo despise him. Yiqing Luo's heart ached for Yan Xiao Yi. She loved such a person, so she couldn't bear to let Yan Xiao Yi lose her entire lifetime of happiness because of Qiao Jin's words. Most importantly, toward Shi Shanglan, she had never trusted him right from the start. He was absolutely not Xiao Yi's husband. Taking a deep breath, Yiqing Luo's gaze was calm as she stared at Yan Xiao Yi. I hope that in this current period of time, you will think of the bigger picture and your brothers and not be in a hurry to get married. Only Yan Xiao Yi alone understood the deep meaning behind these words. Yiqing Luo was advising her that in her life, there wasn't only Qiao Jin alone. For Qiao Jin, was it worth it to sacrifice a lifetime of happiness and give up her brothers who had risked their lives for her? Yan Xiao Yi's heart, which was originally pierced by Qiao Jin's words, started to throb again. His heart seemed to have come alive. I was too impatient. Shi Shanglan seemed to be infected by Yiqing Luo's words as he lowered his head in embarrassment. What young Miss Yi said is right. Xiao Yi is not a canary in a cage, she belongs to a wider forest. His smile was sincere and his eyes were filled with sincerity as he held Yan Xiao Yi's hand and said softly, Xiao Yi, it's all right. Go and carve out a path that belongs to you. I will wait here for you. When you are tired, we will return to our home. Such a display of true feelings, tender and sweet. No woman would be able to escape such gentleness. Especially when there was a cold and aloof man beside him as a contrast. It showed how well Shi Shanglan treated Yan Xiaoyi. At this moment, Yan Xiaoyi couldn't help but sink into this gentleness. Shi Shanglan's words were truly moving and moving. In Yan Xiaoyi's mind, a sentence appeared: if the person she liked was Shi Shanglan, how good would that be? Yes, she actually began to regret falling in love with Xiao Jin. No woman would be able to maintain her composure when facing the man she loved, who kept pushing her towards other men. Especially a proud lady like Yan Xiaoyi. Her line of sight finally didn't look at Xiao Jin. She only nodded her head lightly. Chapter 1342. Lon, I'm sorry, I didn't consider thoroughly. Yan Xiaoyi apologized softly. She looked at this man, at this tender gaze, as though he was holding her in his palms and cherishing her. She couldn't deny that her heart was moved. No one could escape from this gentleness. Shi Shanglan hurriedly shook his head. No need to apologize to me. I was too anxious and neglected your feelings. The two of them apologized to each other. When their gazes met, the two of them smiled at each other. Even Yiqing Luo, who was sitting by the side, could obviously feel that the atmosphere between Yan Xiaoyi and Shi Shanglan had become exceptionally harmonious. Yiqing Luo didn't know if she should say good or bad about this change. It might be better to forget about Xiao Jin and place her thoughts on another man. But that other man shouldn't be Shi Shanglan. No matter what, Yiqing Luo felt that this Shi Shanglan was extremely strange. This was a kind of intuition. She squinted her eyes as she stared at Shi Shanglan without blinking. She didn't miss any expression on Shi Shanglan's face. But still, she wasn't able to see any abnormal expression on Shi Shanglan's face. Just like his love for Yan Xiaoyi was from the bottom of his heart. Everything he had now was all for Yan Xiaoyi. No wonder Yan Xiaoyi would sink into it. Yiqing Luo sneaked a glance at the man next to her. He apparently felt the warm atmosphere between Yan Xiaoyi and Shi Shanglan. That pair of deep black eyes contracted slightly. His body suddenly tensed up. A biting cold murderous intent flashed past his eyes. But this emotional change only lasted for a moment. But in a blink of an eye, Xiao Jin's expression had already reverted back to its original expressionless look. It was so fast that Yiqing Luo suspected if she was hallucinating. Xiao Jin still loved Yan Xiaoyi. He still had unforgettable love and longing for Yan Xiaoyi. However, they were clearly in such a situation of love. Xiao Jin still sent Yan Xiaoyi into Shi Shanglan's arms for no reason. All right, no need to apologize. After Xiaoyi becomes an old lady, as the vice group leader, I will definitely let her get married. Yiqing Luo intentionally didn't see Xiao Jin's expression earlier, but intentionally teased him. Indeed, it was as Yiqing Luo had expected. The first to rebuke was Xiao Jin. Qing Luo, you can't delay Xiaoyi like this. Xiaoyi isn't going to marry you, and young master, she isn't even anxious about it. So what are you anxious about? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. This. Xiao Jin racked his brains to find an excuse. Xiaoyi is already 17 this year. If she gets married a few years later, it will attract gossip. Yiqing Luo's brows rose. Young master, she has already said that he doesn't mind. When Shi Shanglan heard his own name, he nodded warmly and said, Yes, I don't mind. As long as Xiaoyi is willing to marry me, even if I have to wait another 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, I am willing. Yiqing Luo glanced at Shi Shanglan. He would never let go of any opportunity to flirt with girls. His sweet words and honeyed words really made the hearts of young girls in the boudoir palpitate incessantly because of his words. Look, Yan Xiaoyi's face was already slightly red. This kind of shyness and excitement was not because she liked him. Instead, it was a kind of impulse that was stirred by the opposite sex. Chapter 1343. Yiqing Luo coughed lightly as she reminded Yan Xiaoyi, since young master she doesn't have any objections, then let's not talk about marriage for now. The most important thing for us now is to heal. You don't mind? Xiao Jin abruptly stood up as his face turned steely green as he stared icily at Shishang Lan. Have you ever thought that Xiao Yi has the title of your fiancé, but you still haven't taken her home? In the eyes of the outside world, what kind of rumors would it be? And you? Xiao Jin's arrow was pointed directly at Yi Qing Luo. Xiao Yi is not only your group member, she's also your friend. How can you give her lifetime's happiness to the world group? Xiao Jin's unreasonable outburst made the few of them instantly turn silent. Even Kitty Lee, who was originally pouncing on butterflies, also turned her gaze over. Seeing the three of them staring at Xiao Jin, no one opened their mouths to speak. Kitty Lee skipped and agilely flipped over the bamboo pole as she directly jumped next to Yi Qing Luo. Following that, she imitated Yi Qing Luo's expression as she stared at Xiao Jin. Being messed up by Kitty Lee, the few of them shifted their gazes away. Xiao Jin clenched his fists tightly as he spoke in a deep voice. Qing Luo, your considerations are not thorough. Young Master Shi and Xiao Yi's marriage is something that will happen sooner or later. Since young Master Shi is willing to let Xiao Yi live the life she wants after marriage, then this month's 20th. But a clear sound of a slap stopped Xiao Jin's long-winded words. Yan Xiao Yi raised her hand up high as her petite body trembled slightly as she stared fiercely at this ordinary-looking man, but that pair of eyes was so bright and mesmerizing. A fiery numbing pain came from her palm. Her slender fingers tightened one by one as it slowly clenched into a fist. She raised her head up high as her eyes reddened as she stared coldly at Xiao Jin. The smile on her lips was extremely chilly. Xiao Jin's cheek was already red and swollen. Even the corners of his lips were oozing with a sliver of blood. It was enough to show how ruthless Yan Xiao Yi's slap was. However, Xiao Jin seemed as though he didn't notice the intense pain from that slap as he stared at Yan Xiao Yi in a daze. Xiao Jin, when I get married and when I get married is my own business. It has nothing to do with you, Yan Xiao Yi said word by word in an ice-cold voice. There was a strong sense of anger in her tone. Xiao Jin's thin lips trembled. He reached out his hand, wanting to hold Yan Xiao Yi's wrist and explain. But before he could stretch his hand out, a voice suddenly rang out. Yan Xiao Yi was already extremely annoyed and shook him off. Enough, really enough. There was another crisp sound of skin colliding. The back of Xiao Jin's hand turned red from the slap. Yan Xiao Yi clenched her fiery palms and stubbornly raised her head high. Her gaze was cold, devoid of any warmth or emotion. Xiao Jin, you don't have to like me, but please don't trample on my feelings for you. The pavilion instantly fell into a deathly silence. Yi Qing Luo's astonished gaze moved back and forth between Xiao Jin and Yan Xiao Yi. Could it be last night, what happened between them, was not as simple as what Yan Xiao Yi said? Yan Xiao Yi she confessed? Confessed that she liked Xiao Jin? Looking at Xiao Jin's unsurprised expression, Yi Qing Luo understood. Yan Xiao Yi had indeed expressed her feelings to Xiao Jin last night. After the confession, she was wished happiness by her beloved man with another man. No wonder Yan Xiao Yi acted so strangely today. If it was her, she would probably have gone crazy. What was Xiao Jin trying to do? Chapter 1344. Xiao Jin, the one who has the least right to criticize my feelings is you. After Yan Xiao Yi finished her sentence, she patted her wooden-wheeled chair. Shishang Lan, who was in a daze, immediately regained his senses and stood up. Shishang Lan smiled warmly at them. Then, he pushed the wooden chair and left the pavilion. Cat cat. Yi Qing Luo looked at Yan Xiao Yi's departing back as she called out softly. Kitty Lee's little head immediately moved to his side. Follow them and take a look. Don't let Xiao Yi and Shishang Lan be alone. Yi Qing Luo rubbed her furry little head as she instructed. This time, no matter who it is, don't let Xiao Yi leave her room, do you understand? Kitty Lee blinked her cat-like eyes. Sister, you like that Shishang Lan too? Yi Qing Luo raised her brows, not understanding the meaning of her words. Kitty doesn't like him either. There was a scent on his body that made it hard for Kitty to get close to him. If it wasn't for big sister Xiao-Yi insisting on coming to the garden, Kitty wouldn't even want to come. Kitty Lee nodded vigorously. Then, she said pitifully, I wanted to tell you the first time I saw him. He had a disgusting smell on him, but he's Xiao-Yi's fiancé and he saved everyone, so I didn't dare to tell you. It's right not to say it. Yi-Ching Luo pinched Kitty Lee's little face. Our Kitty Lee has grown up and knows how to consider problems. This is very good. Kitty Lee's eyes lit up. That pair of bright and resplendent eyes sparkled brightly. I'm so happy to be praised by big sister. All right, let's go and accompany Xiao-Yi first. They have already gone far away. Yi-Ching Luo's eyes were filled with smiles as she patted Kitty Lee's shoulder and pointed to the front, towards the direction where the two figures had disappeared. Kitty Lee cried out, her small body moving agilely. In the blink of an eye, he was already dozens of meters away among the flowers. In the blink of an eye, the cat-like figure was as fast as lightning. He disappeared from Yi-Ching Luo's vision. She retracted her gaze and stared at Xiao Jin. Have you calmed down now? Xiao Jin's face was extremely red and swollen. It made his already not-so-handsome face look even more comical. But now Yi-Ching Luo couldn't smile at all. Xiao Jin sat back down heavily on the stone block and turned his face away. You want to seek justice for Xiao-Yi? I just want to ask you a few questions. Yi-Ching Luo sat opposite him. She confessed to you and it's fine if you reject her, but why did you still matchmake her with Xishang Lan? In this relationship with Yan Xiao-Yi, Xiao Jin had always been weak and timid. Yi-Ching Luo thought that Xiao Jin was timid and weak because he cared about Yan Xiao-Yi. Yan Xiao-Yi was nervous, so he couldn't bear to lose the chance to accompany Yan Xiao-Yi. But now, Yan Xiao-Yi had clearly expressed her feelings. Yan Xiao-Yi had already taken a step forward. Logically speaking, Xiao Jin should not have any worries. However, the result was unexpected. I can't be with her. Xiao Jin's voice was tense as he enunciated each word. Her marriage to young master Shi is the happiest thing for her. Happiness? You're not Xiao-Yi, so on what basis do you conclude that it's happiness for her to be with Xishang Lan? Yi-Ching Luo gave a cold sneer. Xiao Jin suddenly raised his head as he tried to explain with a flustered expression. But his thin lips trembled and after stuttering for some time, he wasn't able to spit out any explanation. Chapter 1345. Xiao Jin was speechless. Yi-Ching Luo continued to laugh coldly. Xiao Jin, I don't know what difficulties you have, and I don't want to know why you are able to give up Xiao-Yi so calmly. But there's one point, please get it clear, get it clear. Xiao-Yi only likes you, she doesn't belong to you. You don't have the right to stop her from liking you, and you don't have the right to force her to be with someone else. Xiao Jin lowered his head in silence. After a long while, a voice filled with pain and helplessness lightly rang out, You're right. I was too selfish. He chuckled softly. It was the kind of bitter smile that made one's heart ache. I want to give up on Xiao-Yi. My heart breaks just thinking about it. So, I want to see her marry Xishang Lan with my own eyes. As long as she gets married, I think I will definitely be able to give up. Yi-Ching Luo pursed her lips. Then, do you still feel that you can give up now? Silence replaced everything else. Yi-Ching Luo didn't continue asking. She only stared quietly at Xiao Jin, at the droplets of water on his thigh. His heart inexplicably softened a little. As resolute as Xiao Jin. But at this moment, the man who was suffering from the pain shed his tears. He still loved Yan Xiao-Yi. He loved Yan Xiao-Yi very, very deeply. Loved to the point that even a man's tears fell. Why did he still reject Yan Xiao-Yi? They loved each other, but the pain of love. Yi-Ching Luo was unable to understand what this kind of love was. Perhaps I should be alone for a while. After a long time, the man with his head lowered choked with sobs. His muscles tensed and his fists clenched. Suppressing his intense emotions, he took a deep breath and said, "Perhaps it's only when I'm alone that I can think about how I should choose." Heh! An ambiguous sneer interrupted Qiao Jin's words. Qiao Jin raised his eyes and his bloodshot eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo. But he saw Yiqing Luo's lips curling into a sneer of disdain as her long and narrow eyes overflowed with a cold glint. "After you've thought it through, I think. You might not be able to see Xiao Yi forever." "What? Didn't you hear what Kitty Cat said?" Yiqing Luo sneered. "Qiao Jin, she just said, cats are beastmen, they have the blood and habits of ordinary cat beasts. Animals are the most intuitive to sense human emotions." Yiqing Luo half supported her head and looked at him with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Qiao Jin's eyes suddenly widened. "You mean, Xishang Lan and Xiao Yi are basically, not necessarily?" Yiqing Luo shook her finger as her brows rose as she looked at Qiao Jin's worried look. Xishang Lan should like Xiao Yi, but, as compared to love, Xishang Lan should have a more important motive. No, impossible. How could he possibly make use of Xiao Yi? The expression on Qiao Jin's face changed unpredictably as the pain in his eyes grew unceasingly. Yiqing Luo sneered, "What's impossible? If Xishang Lan really treated Xiao Yi as the most important person in his heart like what he said, how could he still smile at you politely and warmly when Xiao Yi said that she liked you? At least, Dmo Xian would absolutely not. If it was Dmo Xian, and he heard other men expressing a tiny bit of interest towards her, Dmo Xian would absolutely announce in an overbearing manner that she, Yiqing Luo, was his, Dmo Xian's woman. When you really liked someone, you would want to possess everything of the other party. Absolutely could not tolerate a single grain of sand. Like Xishang Lan, when he heard the woman whom he deeply loved said that she liked another man, he could still politely bid farewell to that man. Chapter 1346. Qiao Jin fell into silence again. He understood this feeling the most. When he saw Yan Xiao Yi calling Xishang Lan intimately, he was so jealous that he was about to go crazy. Seeing Yan Xiao Yi eat the fruit that Xishang Lan brought to her lips and smile gently at Xishang Lan, he was so jealous that he was about to go crazy. Looking at Yan Xiao Yi and Xishang Lan's similar smiles, that warm atmosphere made him want to rush forward and hug Yan Xiao Yi fiercely, but he couldn't. He was the one who had pushed Yan Xiao Yi to Xishang Lan. He was the one who had personally caused this outcome. He had no right to be jealous, no right to be crazy, just like what Yiqing Luo said. He also did not have the qualifications to decide Yan Xiao Yi's life. Qiao Jin did not feel such intense jealousy from Xishang Lan. Thinking back to what Kitty Li had just said, seeing Qiao Jin's expression turning increasingly steely green, Yiqing Luo shot him a faint glance. "Finally understand, what you've pushed Xiao Yi into is the bottomless abyss, and not the so-called happiness." Why? Qiao Jin's throat was dry, and even breathing seemed so difficult and painful. "I'm still investigating," Yiqing Luo replied calmly. "Tonight we should be able to get the information from the Imperial Palace's investigation. But for now, I hope that you can control your own emotions and not alert the enemy." Qiao Jin's fists were tightly clenched as his well-built body trembled incessantly. She really thought that Xishang Lan would be Yan Xiao Yi's husband. However, he had neglected the most important matter. "Now you're alone, calm down, I'd like to see how quiet you can be." Yiqing Luo supported herself with one hand on the stone table as she stood up, the corners of her lips curled up as she sneered. Women could empathize with this kind of pain the most. Her heart ached for Yan Xiao Yi. How much did she blame Qiao Jin? Yiqing Luo turned around and left the pavilion without looking back. At night, Dmo Xian brought the results of his investigation on Xishang Lan. Qiao Jin also quietly came over. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered with him, as she directly opened the parchment in her hands. All of Xishang Lan's information were recorded above. Yiqing Luo's gaze swiftly swept past those messages. The information was very comprehensive. Even the matter of Shi Shanglan being kidnapped with Yan Xiaoyi when he was young was recorded in great detail. Only thing was, after Yi Qing Luo spent 1 hour to finish reading all the information, she didn't discover anything unusual about Shi Shanglan's identity or his recent whereabouts. Shi Shanglan was indeed a gentle and refined young master. No matter who it was, he was always polite. He admired the second daughter of the Yan family wholeheartedly, and had spent a lot of effort to find out the whereabouts of the second daughter, and to find out everything about the second daughter. If there was one thing that Shi Shanglan, the gentle young master, did, that was to sneak into second young mistress' newly purchased residence and change the style of second young mistress' residence to his own residence. This second miss was undoubtedly Yan Xiaoyi. From the information, not only was there nothing suspicious about Shi Shanglan, but it also clearly indicated he, Shi Shanglan, truly loved Yan Xiaoyi. Everything that he did for Yan Xiaoyi was from the bottom of his heart, from the bottom of his heart. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased, but before she could say a word, the parchment in her hands was snatched away by Qiao Jin. He stared at the words on the parchment as his breathing became hurried. Why couldn't he find any problem? How could he possibly really like Xiaoyi? A contradictory man. One moment he accused Shi Shanglan of using him.